Father God, we thank you and we give your name praise and we give you honor and we give you glory. We thank you, God, that we're able to gather here together, God, and we ask that we be on one accord, God, to God coming to get a job done for the county, God. We thank you for our first responders and those that have authority over that you would be with us and bless us and bless the county. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
This regular meeting of the Hendrick County Board of County Commissioners being held on Tuesday, May 14, 2019 at 5 p.m. in the City Commission Chambers in Lewiston, Florida. In attendance are Chairman Mitchell Wills, Vice Chair Emma Byrd, Commissioner Darrell Harris, Commissioner Michael Swindle, Commissioner Carson Turner, County Attorney Mark Lapp, and Clerk Barbara Butler.
Thank you very much. The first thing on the agenda tonight is under bids. Bid number 2019-14.
Yes, Chairman, for the record, Shane Parker, Henry County Public Works Director. We had two bids, U.S. Submergent Technologies and Borimi Construction, Inc. Borimi Construction, Inc. was the high bid, and they were also just like a construction firm out of Okeechobee. U.S. Submergent Technologies has experience in this. Based on their website, they do sand and grit removal.
Is that who you want?
That's who I want. And my staff report says authorize the chairman or in his absence the vice chairman to execute the contract, but it should be the contract with U.S. Submergent Technologies, subject to county attorney and
Second.
DEP approval.
I don't think you can hear us, can you? You got it, Ms. Butler?
They're not on.
I don't know.
No, they're not on.
Check.
Let's start all over again.
You cannot or can? You can?
I can record you. Yep.
Wonderful. That's all we need, right?
You made the motion.
Commissioner Harris made the motion.
Second.
Commissioner Turner was the second. Okay, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Second under bids is 2019-13.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve the Cummins. I think was the low bid and clearly had the most reputable recommendations that were presented to us in the board packet. However, I do want to talk to the county administrator. I met with my staff. Quality Electric threw a number at this. I think that the bid packet itself was woefully underprepared. Commissioner Wills, I'll just lean on you for an example. You know, if you go back through that list of generators, I don't know if you looked at it.
I have.
There's a lot of open-ended questions on there. I'm going to make a prediction, and I'd love for this to be tracked. Cummins Incorporated will not be able to perform this job at $32,785. I'm going to say it's at least double. I hope I'm wrong. But I think it's going to be in there. And I don't know if we're prepared, to do that. And I also want to add that I think that there's a lot more discussion that needs to take place. And I don't know if that's Alan Bowen. I don't know if that's you, Shane. I don't know who the horse is in the county that looks at that on a daily basis. But I think that there were some generators that had clearly sat by for a long time idle, were not utilized. And I think that when Cummins or whoever it is that we award this to tonight, but I'm going to make a motion to approve Cummins, when they start to tear into this, we're going to see a high number come back to us if we want to get our facilities up and running.
You are correct. And Alan's going to be the one to do that. Quite a few of our generators, there's quite a bit of work to be done on them. So.
Yeah.
Is there a second to that motion?
No, there's not.
Just for the record, you're going to need to abstain because even though this isn't to your benefit, the ethics laws
He can move
conflict of it. No,
He can move the motion but not vote, correct?
Can't vote in favor or against it.
Okay.
And needs to abstain for the record and just.
Okay. Then I will state my abstention after somebody makes it. But I do want us to look at this because, when I looked at the number that Quality Electric pushed forward, and I was glad we were the highest number that we had, and then I asked my staff, they said, yeah, there are so many open ends. And then I kind of went back through that bid and I said, there's no way somebody can get us. And what's going to happen on this is we're going to get changed, ordered to death.
Well, so
we're never going to know about it.
So, to that point, I would like to include some discussion and put a little bit different spin on it. But number one, we don't have a second, so is the motion going to fail? And we can just leave it at that.
How about this? How about I just withdraw my motion in its entirety?
That'd be the best thing.
Probably be the most.
So there's no
comfortable for
motion.
everybody.
So there's no motion.
That's
then.
right.
So,
Do y'all want to let this fail then, or do we want to discuss it further?
how is it emergency to do it?
Well, I think it is.
I do as well.
Because you got hurricane season in 30 days.
So then we better not draw it out.
Well, okay. There's no motion on the floor. We would like to discuss further before we have a motion. So there's no motion on the floor. So I would like to put a little bit different twist on this.
Okay.
As I read through the description of what was going to happen, essentially what the main service that Cummings, or really the way that it's written, for any of the bidders that bid there, the main function was to be a generator servicer, so to speak. Every 6 months, make sure that the fluids were at adequate level, make sure the engine would start, engage, make sure the drive worked, make sure the unit produced electricity. Do a run up, check for radiator leaks, loose belts, and things like that. It was the low bid was $32K.
Yes, sir.
On the low end. And on top of that, if there were any problem, even Cummins left it open. They said, now if there's other mechanical problems or if there's a generation issue, we'll do a change order to repair those at your discretion.
Yeah.
Folks.
There could be a bunch of them.
Well, and there will be. We know there will be. There's no doubt about that.
And I'm so glad we're up to speed on this, because I was thinking that we weren't going to have done our homework. We were going to come here, we were going to prove it, and then I was going to be very upset whenever, Cummins comes back to, I don't know who they report to, if it's Jennifer or Shane or what, and they say, guys, we can fix this generator that you have in the John Boy Auditorium for
That's right.
$120,000.
Well, okay. So here's one thing I want to ask the commission to think about. We at best case scenario, the best case scenario that we have tonight is to approve a $32K service person to go service those engines and tell us if anything's wrong with them, and then what they would charge us to fix them. This is a position. Why would we give someone in Charlotte County a position to come service and check our generators and crank them and run them? I would much rather see us help our own economy, our own employment, hire an individual that is under Alan Bowen's or Richard Lumkel's or whoever is auspice, give them a clipboard. Every 6 months, you make sure you touch every single generator and you make sure everyone cranks. And here's the clip, because it's already in here what you're supposed to check. Now you go do it. Because guess what? Alan Bowen or Shane or whoever is still going to have to go behind them and make sure it's done. They're still going to have to go show them which ones they are. And if there are issues, then we're still back to where we are with doing some sort of bid to get it corrected.
Then they'd just call them, they'd come
Why
fix
won't
it.
we just do that? Why would we not help our own economy and our own unemployment rate?
Well,
I know why, Mr. Chair. I know why. The number one reason is we don't have someone that has the expertise in this field, and we would have to as a county buy a load bank. That in itself, if you want to test these higher end generators, is a minimum $15,000-$20,000 investment.
I don't think, not the way I read this. You don't have that wasn't part of the service that they were doing. The way I read it for the 32, it was just.
Listen, I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah.
We're debating this, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But if I were trying to tell you how to run the adult school right now, you would chew me up and spit me out 7 ways from Sunday.
Right.
I'm telling you, in order for us, I would even go a step further to what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I don't want us to hire the local John Q person that we think can handle this, because what happens is, let me give a good example of one. The Plus is a bad one because they're already up and running and they were removed from it. The Pioneer Fire 2499 Henry Generac, it's on propane. I don't like that one either. Let's use the John Boy Auditorium is a good one. John Boy Auditorium is probably in a good status right now, but unless the readers on that generator are operating properly, which I don't know if they are, and they're going to tell us that when we fire that generator up, and then it either automatically transfers over and starts holding the load, or does it manually get switched over and then show us what it's reading out and what its outputs are. That gets away from your everyday electrician and your everyday mechanic quickly.
Got it. How often does that need to happen, though?
That needs to happen. That needs to happen once a month minimally, and there needs to be a record of that. On these, sir, that's never happened. To the best of my knowledge, that does not happen on any of these.
Every month that needs to happen?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. A generator needs to exercise every month, just for a couple hours, maybe an hour.
Because that wasn't what this bid did.
No, that's what I'm saying. It was woefully short. And Cummins, I'm telling you, was gonna implement that. And that's not on all of them, by the way, Commissioner Swindle.
Yeah.
And so we need to designate that. But I do think that, like, the Pioneer Community Center needs to exercise once a month for an hour.
Right. I don't disagree with that.
Because I can tell you, in every bridge that we do throughout the state of Florida, they exercise usually once a week. They usually exercise once a week for about an hour. They put the entire load. It automatically transfers over. It happens around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, and if they have a bridge opening, it happens under that power of that generator.
Right.
But that's logged. Quality Electric has that log. The FDOT has that log, and everybody can see it. There's a computer printout on the new ones that shows you how many times it happened. But this is exactly what's happening at Shamrock, you know, down the road
Right.
in Hookers Point, and Tropical Gas Station in Hookers Point.
And you don't believe we could train that skill set?
I believe that we
said
could.
Individual?
I do believe that we could train that person, but I'm telling you that $32,000.
Yeah.
It's a steal if Cummins is going to get us up and running, which I don't think they are at
All right.
$32,000.
Not according to this, they're not. That was very clear.
That's a service
That's
agreement
right.
to do bare minimum.
Check the oil
Check-
and make sure
that's
it cranks.
exactly right.
That's it. Because if that's the case,
Y'all saw the same thing too.
They're not
we
saying
can
they're
hire
gonna
this
fix
person.
it, They're saying they're going to service it.
So here's what I propose. Think about this. Think about this. We are behind the 8 ball. By the way, we wanted that if you read the fine print, we wanted it to be done in a month of May. If we issued it to them tonight, we're probably, you know, very close, if the generators operate properly, to even meeting that May deadline. Hurricane season starts June 1. I think we should ask our county administrator to negotiate a deal with Cummins, bring them in based on these numbers, ask Cummins to come in, and they should have this, and we should get out of it, and then we should get a report back that says, we're going to go through. Cummins is going to now have been granted the opportunity to go through and look at these things with a fine-tooth comb and be able to bring us back, because they do have that. They'll be able to take their service truck, load those generators up. Commissioner, it may bring the list back to 5 generators or 10 generators that we know are done, and we're going to have to look at replacing those. But I just feel we don't need to do this contract per se, and we don't need to necessarily burn the money of what you're saying. I'm all about us training somebody up. But that needs to be a long-term look instead of, and we're looking more, and I don't think we need to wait. I think we need to look at a short-term fix, sir.
We're in hurricane season. We need that. We need this done.
Yes, sir.
Well, just to bring it into perspective, it's not like hurricane season starts tomorrow. It doesn't matter.
Right. That's right.
The guys have been doing this, and originally this was a quarterly deal. We left quarterly till every 6 months. Then, because of short staff, we got to the situation to where
Never.
storm.
So it used to happen quarterly?
It used to happen quarterly. This goes back when I was at Road and Bridge in the 90s.
Did y'all load test them or just crank them and run them?
Well, the way we load tested, we did not have the equipment to load test. All we would do is we would transfer.
Go inside, make sure the power's on, AC's on.
We did
Right.
it inside. We'd go
Right.
inside, we had a meter, and that's how we're doing it now.
Yeah.
We're doing the same thing
Yeah.
now. It's very generic compared to the
And dangerous.
sophistication. True.
And dangerous.
As an electrician, you go inside, you check the meter, and that tells you what load you have coming
Okay.
in.
Okay.
The biggest problem with our generators is age, a couple of them. And the second problem is a lot of these generators are not at that facility. These are portables. These are generators that we take and set the day or two before a storm.
They're under the barn at Road and Bridge.
Correct. And then, well, I don't know if they're all on the barn or not, but
Yeah.
they're at Road and Bridge.
Okay.
The second thing is the new generators that have been installed, they do exercise weekly.
Automatically?
EOC, they do. And the newer generators, but that's the only ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just for an example, let's throw the courthouse out there. That one exercises when we physically go exercise it.
Right.
Yep.
And that's the way most of our generators are.
Does it even possess an automatic transfer switch, Commissioner Wills? No. See?
Most of ours do not. Most
Yeah.
of them are manual.
Manuals. Yes, sir.
So you have to crank them.
You have to crank, yes, sir, you crank the generator, and you have to manually transfer your power over.
I think you're on point. I think we are all on point. I think that none of us are happy with what we see.
Yep.
We all agree something needs to happen sooner.
Yep.
No later in the conversation, and we need to come back. I would like to see something different.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Swindle, I think that we have an emergency management director, do we not? I mean, that's what he does.
We did last time.
And so I think that we should ask our county administrator and our emergency management director to queue this up and tell us what their plan is and come back time certain. But do y'all disagree with bringing Cummins down to have a face-to-face to see what they think about?
No, I agree with it wholeheartedly, because I can guarantee you, once they get here face-to-face and see it,
Yeah.
that number's going to change.
Yeah, it's going to change dramatically, and then
Been out there in the field and
I don't
saw
know.
these myself.
But now let's think about that. They had a chance. How long have they had this in front of them? They could have looked. I mean,
Well, how are they going to look at the generators that aren't there?
yeah,
Commissioner?
the
I mean,
generators.
that's the problem.
I'm telling you, and was never advertised to have a field trip, a pre-bid conference or anything like that.
Okay, so it wasn't prepared.
sir, they didn't-
okay.
they
Fairness
go
to all
around.
groups,
All right.
some of the generators, so, yeah.
I
And so at
understand.
$99 an hour, we asked them, because that's what their normal working hours are, Monday through non-routine repairs outside of periodicity, which I don't even think is a word, by the way.
How
But
many generators do we have?
Well,
Yeah,
that
40.
was a question I couldn't even get answered
It
either.
was in the mid-40s according to this, right?
No, I think it was.
We have some that are there, but they're not there. I'm just gonna say that.
Bits and pieces.
When my staff asked,
They don't have fuel tanks. We have to take fuel tanks and set their tanks. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done on our generators.
there are.
It's not gonna be an easy fix.
Nope. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm just tickled to death that y'all realize that $32,000 number was a farce. You know, to me, that's one of those things. I'm not mad at Cummins, but that's to get your foot in the door. And then,
Well, I could see that quickly racking up.
Yeah.
When they said, well, as we have issues, then we'll talk. And I was like, whoa.
That'd have been day one.
That would have been day one, is right.
Generator they drove to, correct.
Yeah.
So we.
What are we missing here? Are we missing anything from your standpoint?
Shane don't know.
Well, like I said, we have two
I mean,
guys.
because I know you deal with this. What are we missing here?
Oh, you're right on point.
Thank you for writing my name down. For the record, Shane Parker, Public Works Director. No, I don't think you're missing nothing. If you have concern that the bid's going to be change order, I think it's fair to bring them down. I mean, I understand what you're wanting to do to save employee. I agree with that. But if you don't have the tools to be able to do it, then why you can't do it? And you don't have the training.
Mm-hmm.
If you could bring Cummins down, talk about it, show them what you got. They're the low bid. I'm assuming, County Attorney weigh in, if you guys are the board, you can do what you want to. You have the most qualified candidate based on prices. If you can maybe negotiate a little bit further about what you're looking for.
and when you look at their portfolio, it's impressive. I mean, they got
And-
DeSoto County, they got DeSoto County School Board, they have Hillsborough County. I mean, they got a lot of people.
I
that are in
can't
this
speak to the
wheelhouse.
number of generators you have. I have no clue. I'm not over the generators or the crank. I couldn't tell you where they're even located at. I know I got some in my yard that's out back. But you do need a field trip. You need to have Alan go around, show them all of them, show them what has to be done, and then
I don't.
narrow it down to what you actually need.
Attorney Lapp, is it fair? Is it legal to do that? If we're going to readdress this, should we not give all of the companies the opportunity then to reengage rather than just one?
Well, I think you can consider the scope of work. You may direct a different scope of work here. You know, you may be deciding that you don't want to do a maintenance scope of work. You want to have an evaluation scope of work. And with that being probably less than $25,000 for the evaluation, I don't know, under our ordinance, if it's less than $25,000, you only have to bid it. So you could like reject all bids because you concluded this approach is just off the mark.
Too open-ended.
Yeah.
And have an alternative approach you direct staff to do to bring in a firm to do up to $25,000 worth of consulting work to evaluate.
I think we're leaning more toward the lines of bring said firm in and give us a price on what it's going to take to get us where we need to be to where we're functional.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is if you bring just one in,
Because they just gave us a roundabout.
but
figure.
do we need to give all of them the opportunity now to come back and say, look, now this is really what we want. We're sorry that was not exactly, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
I think you can because, I mean, this is contractual services. What you're procuring here is
Right.
contractual services. There's no state statute that directs how you procure contractual services. The only standard is your own ordinance.
Okay.
And so you can, for good cause, vary from what your ordinance says and do, a hybrid, kind of approach you're talking about doing. And to me, if I'm one of the other vendors, I'm not really in a position to complain because we're going with the low guy. I mean, if we went with somebody else, the low guy would complain.
It's not going to be low anymore.
No, I'm saying he's
Once
the
he comes
low-
back, it's
he's
going to
the low
be
bidder. Yeah.
So is he gonna have to go to each generator?
Yes,
and
sir.
evaluate
There's
each
no way they can
generator?
give you a price on what has to be done if they don't look at every one, like
If
Commissioner
they
Wills was
look at
saying.
it, are they gonna have to do more than look at it?
Yes, sir. I think that we will, and I think
They're gonna have to evaluate
They'll
it.
have to
They're
crank
gonna
it
have
out,
to, yeah.
Try to crank it, see what condition it fuels in.
because I guarantee you, when you go through this list, there's gonna be some generators you can turn them all you want. Ain't nothing gonna work.
They ain't
If
coming.
half of them don't work, then the price.
That's right.
And then it becomes a different scope all to itself. And now Cummins may be, it may be Tampa Armature. I don't know, but somebody's going to sell us a generator at that point, or at least give us a proposition to purchase a generator. And I just think it gets back to we need to have our emergency management director, the person that we hired to make sure that the county operates in the event there's a declared emergency, be able to have themselves familiar with this and know exactly what facilities need to be up and running. What's the red line, what's the yellow line, and what's the green line, and then what takes precedent from there. Let me ask one other question, Mr. Chair. Attorney Lapp, what have we declared? What, not to make it dramatized, but we are on the 14th of May today. There is some things you can do under an emergency contract, correct? That
Yeah,
gives you a little bit more leeway.
Yeah, under our ordinance, we do have emergency procurement options,
And I think that this,
but I mean, we don't
like
have.
I said, I don't want to make this dramatized, but
Yeah, but that'd be kind of a,
this is not a declared emergency,
Yeah,
but
we're not
we are making it a declared emergency because, and here's my point to that. Do you know this is the first year, I think in 3, that we haven't had a storm in the Atlantic Basin during the month of May? You know, we've had a named storm almost every year in the month of May. And you know, I just think that we need to be prepared, and we know that we were woefully unprepared the last time the hurricanes were on us.
Do we have
No doubt.
Do we have an inventory where they're all at?
Well, it's on. There's in that write up. There's a pretty good, pretty
There's a
accurate
great
description
list.
of where at least where they should be. We should say that. Yeah.
Yeah, where they're supposed to.
Well, again, when you get staff involved with this, and he's gonna be upset, I'm gonna throw him on the bus again. Alan really needs to be involved in this. He's been doing these generators for 25 years.
Alan needs to be the guy that's
He
either
needs to
saying
be-
to
yes.
whoever the person is that we bring in, follow me, or I'm going to meet
With
you at this
emergency management
address.
director, but we need to have
That-
that facilities director in.
100%. I wasn't trying to cut him out. Yes, sir. I hear you loud and clear.
And that was my point for if we had our own staff, because no matter if you hire someone or not, Alan's still involved. Alan's still going to have to check behind them. Alan's still going to have to hold her hand and take them where they got to go. At least if it's his person, you know, he can handle that piece.
You know what
I
Commissioner
understand
Swindle's
there's.
trying to
This
do.
in mind also, if say this is a 6-month,
No, he's
every
not trying to
6-month
get another
contract,
I'll tell you.
you're gonna need to make sure that in the event of a storm, if we call them, they're coming, rather than the fact that we're sending the same ones we're sending out there now and spending the money anyway.
That's right.
Because right now, we have staff that goes to those generators, one of them.
Well, again,
We
my
go to
point
them
for
now
our,
every-
that's
before
my
storm,
point for
so.
our own person. If it's a hurricane or whatever,
But we
they
do
live
not have
here,
the-
they're here. Go get the generator, get it out there. You know, it's our people. We can do that.
Yes,
but
we
when
don't
it,
have
when
the
they're coming from
technology.
Charlotte County, we're not going to see them.
The technology or training for that, part of that, we do not have.
That's right.
And I agree with that.
If
But my whole situation here, like I said, my whole point is, we're not in the water with a blown motor.
Yeah,
This thing works, and they can make it work just like we did before.
that's right.
We're going to be doing the same thing we did before regardless. We're still going to have staff setting portable generators, moving portable generators. We're still going to be doing that in the event of a storm.
And that staff know
That's-
if that generator works now or not.
And what we do now is we call in people to fix it.
Right, so you just let someone fix it instead of, you know, we putting them out there to check them, but when we've been checking them the time, in-house the whole time.
You can't wait till the storm, though.
We don't.
And that's what this is a step to try to get proactive.
That's right.
Right,
So,
I agree.
you know,
Do you have a mechanic on staff? You have mechanics, don't you?
Well, it's partially mechanic, but the rest of it's electrical. That's the reason,
yeah.
actually, Alan's
Right.
staff, Road and Bridge used to do this. I was Road and Bridge, we did it years ago. We'd run out, we had to run them generators an hour each one. You sit there at that generator, you ran it an hour, you test the electrical output, you test everything.
Yeah.
Water, fuel, you name it, went through everything.
look at your temperature
Got
gauge.
switched over to maintenance because of the electrical side of it. Staff where we were at Road and Bridge was not trained for that. So we switched it over to facilities. Facilities goes out now and they do the same thing. They'll run these generators, they load test them. But again, we don't have the sophisticated equipment. We're using a meter.
Well, we have the manpower to test them.
We do. We have manpower to test them, and they've been doing that.
But you can't fix them.
No, sir. Well, some of them, yes, sir. Some of them staff
of them
does
we
fix.
can fix.
That is true. Staff does fix. The motor part of it, not the generator.
Would it
We
be-
have no one to work on the generator part of it.
That's right. The generator part, I agree. You gotta know what you're doing with that. I don't doubt that at all. But do we have a mechanic staff, and do we have the time for you to hand this off to a mechanic person? And say, hey, good honestly, let's go. Will it crank? What's there? What's not? You know, is it destroyed? There's no way it won't run. We got to have another one. Will that help out the situation where at least we know? Just start marking off the ones we've got to replace. This one we can make run, you know, but then we
Chair,
got to get
before
an
he answers
electrician
that,
in there.
maybe I expect too much, but I anticipated that to have been done prior to the bid going out, so that there was more of a understanding of what was anticipated, and it was a true maintenance contract. For you know, the questions that I heard asked and how they were answered, I felt we woefully missed the mark, and that's why I'm saying I thought there was a
How
bad
many we
bid.
have down, how many,
And-
how many drive, holes do we have?
Right. Well, the thing is, you know, throwing Shane in this situation here, he doesn't have the answer to that question. His staff doesn't do that. Alan's staff does that.
Oh, okay.
So really,
Okay.
we're asking him to do
We need-
something.
I'm sorry. I figured it was mechanical.
We're
His
gonna
staff-
repeat
Alan's
services.
staff
Yes.
does.
I'm not trying to
But
be mean.
I can tell you
I'm
that
telling
Alan's
you,
staff
this
has
is a good
files.
conversation.
There's files in that facilities department can tell you the last time they was there, what had to be done, what needed to be done. Every time they go to a generator, there's a checklist. Every bit of that has a checklist.
Yes, sir.
And he will have that on file, and it's a copy is made and is sent to the EOC. So yes, we should have an up-to-date file of exactly what we have going on with our generators.
And that could be multiple years old, or it could be
No, sir, no, this should be
at
the
least from
last
Irma
recent.
down.
Well, they check them every 6 months. still.
Okay, well, that's great to know.
Yes, sir. We do
And I
that
think
every
that would
6
have been
months
very
still.
pertinent information to have in there.
It would.
You know, so to me, I think that we dropped the ball a little bit as a county, but I'm gonna tell you right now, if y'all knew how happy I was that we're having this kind of a chat, and it's not Daryl just seeing a $32,000 number and saying we got to use them because the number was the lowest. I'm just messing with you, Commissioner.
Rough on you.
No, I'm loving it. This is good because we're not looking at the numbers, we're looking at the outcome, and that's great.
Well, how do we want to move forward then?
I say we reject all bids. Obviously, I can't make a motion on it because my firm bid on it. But I say we reject all. My suggestion is we reject all bids. Ask the county administrator, emergency management director, and Mr. Alan Bowen to all sit down with the low bidder and come back to us time certain. And I think that needs to be before the month of May is up. So in our meeting in LaBelle, we need to have a solid update on this.
You need a motion that need to be in form of a motion?
Yes, we do, and I would just, as support in your procurement ordinance for doing that, I just found, this is section 1-2-185. Let me get the right number here. It's C as in cat, 3A.
Does that have to be part of the motion?
Well, she's hearing it. He doesn't have to say it all. But a reason for rejecting all responses is that there was a substantial omission in the work statement specifications, and it sounds like that's what we're concluding here. So
Absolutely.
So if you can make the motion that he said, then with my clarification.
I move we reject all bids because of omissions in the. Yeah, right.
Substantial omission in the work statement specifications.
I move that we reject all bids because of omissions in the work statement specifications, and that we instruct the county administrator, Mr. Lumkel, and Alan Bowen to come together and to come up with a new proposal.
Do you have a
Next meeting.
As to be
Next
presented
board
at the May 21st,
8th.
28.
28.
May 28th board meeting.
second the motion?
Sure, we got a second.
Yeah, we got a second. We got a motion by Commissioner Swindle, second by Commissioner Burrs. Any further discussion on this?
I abstain.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the reason for my abstention is I'm an employee of Quality Electric, part of ownership, and our company bid on this project. Which I think also, Commissioner Wills, leads to another discussion that needs to happen about standards of policy and procedures that prevents a board member from potentially bidding on anything. I would have no problem with that, even though I know that Quality Electric could bring a tremendous amount of help. I really think that we ought to look into that a little bit and vet that as a
To
commission.
prevent a board member from.
Yep. I think that I can see where it could become a conflict. Yep.
I can tell you Alan's gonna have heartburn with that because he don't want nobody else working on the Fortino Bridge.
Okay.
So, well, can we really think about that before we do it?
We need to.
We can noodle on that one before we
Yeah,
do it.
let's try to figure out some kind of language that's
Yeah.
gonna get you happy, but, moving to the consent, we're pulling items C3, D1, D2, and under awards and appearances. Well, we're not there yet. So can I get a motion to approve the remaining
So
consent?
moved. Approve the balance.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Swindle. Any discussion? Seeing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. C3, Mr. Lapp.
Yes, union contract ratification. So there was some revisions to that from what was in the packet. I sent an email out this afternoon or this morning to all of you with the changes and just would ask that you approve the collective bargaining agreement as revised, sent to you this morning.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions on that, or?
And I can go through the changes if you want. But.
So we can, if no one needs that, can we get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Swindle. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. D1,
I asked for this to be pulled because I would like some clarification. I didn't see anywhere in there. The only thing I seen was that there was a 60-day cancellation. But our plan is not to move forward in with the city of LaBelle as a permanent fix to the situation. Is that correct? We want to have our own staff to do this.
it was just
Is
an
that
agreement
correct?
between them. We just reversed the agreement where we were helping them. They were going to help us until we did move forward. What I understood, is that correct, Ms. English?
Yes,
Okay.
the intent is that Margaret Embledge your favorite planner. The intent is to have coverage until we hire a permanent replacement
Right,
for the
okay.
building official position.
I'm sorry if it was in there, I just missed it, but I never seen where it was on a temporary status. I wanted to make sure that it was temporary status and we were moving forward at light speed to get the position filled, correct?
Yes, sir. We've got advertisements out in several venues,
Okay.
per se, and we haven't had many applicants at this point. We've had two applicants, and so we're going to wait for another week until we've, let enough time to go by for us to get additional submittals. But anyway, that's where we're at right now.
One of the submittals, Ms. Emmons, was that firm? Was it the firm, one of those?
No, sir. They were individuals.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
We did have a meeting with a firm that can offer the
services.
the services, but with them, we would have to go out for some type of a bid or RFP because the amount we'd end up paying them annually would be more than what would require, trip the threshold that would require a bid process for that service.
Okay.
That is a potential. We if we don't get the proper
The viable
applicants,
options on the table.
we might have to go that route.
You're gonna get backlogged in that department, right?
Well,
We hope not to. I mean, the plan is we've got two inspectors that have. One of them has the certification to do some plan reviews, and there's only a couple of shortcomings that we might have in the interim. But again, we do have Mark, and I'm working. I'm going to work on making sure that we have Mark for specific timeframes per week. And see if we can get that so that we're not getting behind. But I can't guarantee that we aren't going to have a little
can
bit.
sign off?
Pardon me?
Is he the only one can sign off on certain things?
Well, at this point, yes.
Okay.
because there's certain certifications that go along with that that's specific to inspection, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Right. In other words,
inspections.
general building contractor.
Inspection side of it.
That's right.
The,
That's right.
the plan review and the building
right.
official aspect of it. But there's some options that we have, and we're going to consider all of them.
Listen, and I know, and if we don't say this enough, I'll say it now. And the folks that I talk to are very pleased and have been for the past said period of time, because they say as we deal with the county, we get quick response, we get things, our plans are reviewed and we get them in a very timely manner. Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure that we keep that. I don't want to get to where all of a sudden we're getting complaints about I can't get my plans, we're not getting them on
Right.
time. I know you're working hard as you can, but I just want to encourage you to please make sure we don't let that
Absolutely.
go. And we're
That's
not
our
at the
goal.
mercy of another entity to get
Yes.
our stuff done, and they'll get to us when they can. Is what I'm afraid
Right.
of.
No, we won't tolerate that for if at all or very long.
Just swing your stick in there and beat them up.
Well, they'll be reporting to me, so
Oh,
yeah,
I like
that. So we'll be fine.
Got it.
I think.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Emmons, do we have? I think he asked, do we have somebody that can sign off right now internally, and we're missing from the building official side or the inspection side? Can you tell us? Do we have what do we have internally right now from the ability to promote within that does not meet the standard?
We have two inspectors. One of them has been getting certifications, and he is at a point that he's submitted to the state to be able to get the provisional license, and there's an opportunity for that inspector to be able to do, I'll say, most, if not all, of the building official responsibilities. But I'm not 100% sure that we have, as far as, let me just back up and say, there's a couple of inspections that we are short on, and one of them is electrical, commercial electrical. But anyway, getting back to I'm working with that inspector to potentially be one of the candidates. I mean, I've asked him to apply and to pursue that provisional license. But in the meantime, and that takes time. In the meantime, we still are going to need to have this opportunity with Mark doing the work.
Could they do everything and then Mark sign off on it?
Pretty much, yes, that's true. He can do that. It really is. We do have the ability to do all of the work and then have him do the sign off, which brings me to the amount of time we're going to need Mark isn't that, I shouldn't say that much, but it shouldn't be as in labor intensive. But I'm trying to, I have a call into his boss at the city and have left a message that we would like to be able to have scheduled time so we can rely on a certain amount of time at certain times based on the cycle of our inspections that we do. So we're being logical about the time that we would have him.
Mr. Chair, I would even go a step further, Ms. Emmons, and recommend that we put that on paper if the city of LaBelle is agreeable to it. And I know it's going to cost us a little bit more, but I think that just as an effort to incentivize and make them understand that we need it to be a productive relationship, if it's 3 hours or 4 hours that y'all are blocking off,
Right.
we're going to do that regardless, but we want to try to push as much into that 4 hour block or however many, if it's an 8 hour block for the entire day, just so that they understand it's a reliable source. And it's not just us leaning on their staffer at that point. They're going to have the cash associated with that staffer is what I'm saying.
Yes.
As it relates to that issue specific. Let me go back a step though. You said that you've encouraged the person to apply for the provisional.
Yes.
If they were to hit on all cylinders and make that happen, is it a 6-month window, an 18-month window?
No, I'm sorry. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But I will.
Okay.
Soon because we're having the conversation.
But clearly, because you're encouraging them to apply, you must feel that someone has the skill set if they just had the certifications.
I would say I can't say that I know from a professional perspective whether he has all of the skill sets because he's only been doing this for less than 2 years.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that, a building official, what makes them, very reliable and expertise is having that tenure. And so this gentleman doesn't have the tenure per se, and in my opinion, I think that's the only drawback. All of us that have been doing whatever your job is, if you've been doing it for years, folks are going to look at you like you're an expert per se. And when you only have a couple of years under your belt, you're still learning.
Yeah, but in the fields, they've both been in many years.
Yeah.
One has been a general contractor in Florida for many years, and the other one has also been a contractor for many years.
Oh, so you've been looking at the applications?
Yes. Yeah.
No, but I know the ones personally that work there, and I know what they do. I know the one's been a major builder in Lee County, Collier County, and the other one's been a major builder all over the state. And I look at everything.
Is this the one that's already on board?
Both of them actually are on board, but the only one has the credentials at this point. As far as the credentials, as far as you're talking about, can they do the job? I don't think they have to be a building official for 20 years to do the job that they have the education and the knowledge to do.
Yes, sir.
If you've been building, multiple businesses and all over the state, and you've been building things for all these years, you can pretty much go by the books and put things together. So I understand the credentials. I do.
But they can't sign off on it.
And that's what I'm saying, though.
Right.
I know
Right.
we're talking about experience now. Experience.
Yes.
uh,
Well,
yeah. I'll take somebody that's built a house over somebody that just got out of school every day of the week.
Well, I will say that that there is one of the inspectors that isn't interested in the
Right, I know.
position. So, as much as you think that he's qualified,
No, I know he's qualified, but he's just not.
He wants to
may
be
not
able to-
be either.
he wants to be able to go home at 5 and have dinner with his wife.
That's an interesting
Chair.
concept.
Mr. Chair, we also have the fact that if we were to promote within, we're going to have to replace that inspector
Right.
position
Yes.
also, correct?
Exactly.
Is that a difficult position to find in this climate as well?
It is as long as we're willing to train them and be patient with them getting their certifications, which is what we've done with the two we have.
Uh-huh.
Because we haven't been able to get qualified inspectors because we don't offer, the salary that others do.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right.
'Cause you got to pay for their training anyway, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Well, you better get him trained.
Right away, sir.
All right, you want a motion to approve the interlocal agreement?
That's what we need.
And with one clarification, Margaret, the city of LaBelle approved this Thursday night, and their attorney had a change. I think we need to tell them, because the one they haven't, did they get that?
No, they got the corrected one. They got the signed one, or the corrected one that was,
Okay.
Via email, because it was after the board packet.
okay.
So if you didn't, I don't know, but the city attorney for LaBelle changed the indemnification language, number 7, to limit it a little bit more, not make it as broad of an indemnification. It was a two-way indemnification. They make a mistake, they pay. We make a mistake, we pay. He narrowed it both directions. It's an even-handed change. I'm in agreement with it, so you need to understand that was a change.
All right.
I move to accept the interlocal agreement with the city of LaBelle.
I second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Byrd. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that brings us to number 2.
Yes, sir.
Just so you know, the correct version was in the signature packet.
Package, okay.
Yes.
No, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I just
sir.
wanted to ask, we had a color-coded diagram chart that was given to us. I don't remember what the number was, but it was a tremendous amount of liens that were past that 5-year statute of limitations. We've clearly changed up some language that wasn't in these things before, but I still go back to my original premise of I don't understand why the county is serving as a lot mowing agency whenever we need to be, in my opinion, moving towards the daily fine if they haven't taken action. So I just wanted to point that out. I think it's quite silly that we're still doing this.
How long do you have to give them, Margaret?
Well, they have 30 days, or I'm sorry, they're 15 days for lot mowing.
And then, for
And
the
then
daily fine.
Well, we don't daily fine them. They have to go to court for the judge to.
So you can go to court over lawn mowing too?
Yeah, you could, but we don't. I mean, the ordinance, you have a separate ordinance for lot mowing and junk, and it's not under the code enforcement section. It's under the public nuisance chapter 1-10 section of our code, and it's a notice, no compliance, county fixes it, county liens. That's the process. There's no
Right.
court
Right.
at all in it.
Sorry, I misspoke.
And so
And we have in the past had tens of thousands of dollars of these actions that we have not been paid on, and they're multiple years old. So I'm recommending that we prevent this process from occurring. We get out of the lot mowing business. We get out of it. We tell code enforcement staff that we hear time and time again is limited in their resource area, right? And we tell them, stop. If somebody's grass is 18 inches high, is that really as important as the X number of blights that we have that aren't being dealt with? And so I think that this is one of those ones that it just confuses me that we're still in the lot mowing business.
If I may, we've been talking about special magistrate, and our plan was to bring it back to you at the next meeting.
The next meeting?
Yes, because we will have an additional court date to report on. But what I'll be honest with you, I think at this point staff's recommendation will be to go to the special magistrate, and which means that we have to go out for bid for that to hire somebody to do that. And at the same time, we were in our previous discussions were going to amend the code so that, and this is up to the board, that all violations go to the special magistrate as opposed to what we call the clean and lean approach, which is includes the mowing and the demolitions. So instead of the dollars that we have allocated towards those two, the demolitions and the mowing, we would use those dollars towards the magistrate and also to hire a an admin person because we're going to need additional support to go to the special magistrate 2 times a month. Just creates additional, I'll say, administrative work. So that's been part of our conversations. The only reluctance that I have, and that is because we get so many calls on the abandoned homes and the mowing, and if we are not going to be taking care of those ourselves, then we all need to be prepared that we'll have ongoing complaints to that. And especially when you look at the mowing part of it, somebody that has a house next to a vacant lot that's has grass up to your shoulders, they're they're going to be calling and they're going to be upset, and we just have to realize that this is the approach that maybe at that point next week that you've decided to go. The other option for this, and I'll go ahead and lay it out here tonight, is that we could still go to the special magistrate, but we could still budget some dollars for those situations. And I'll say that there, with that idea, either we have that and we, I guess, pick and choose which ones we do, or we have some dollars so when the special magistrate, when we've exhausted all avenues, directs the county to go ahead, because it's a nuisance and a safety issue, to go ahead and take care of that, either demolition or that mowing, then we would have dollars budgeted to be able to do that. Otherwise, if we don't budget any dollars for that, then it's not done, period.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
is it number 70K right now?
It's 75 for the demolition, and it's 12,500 for the mowing.
And so, obviously we don't need to make that decision tonight, but if we wanted to cut that in half or something, I'd be all about that. On both accounts, the demolition and the mowing, and then, see where that gets us. And then with the actions of the special magistrate, if we do end up ultimately going down that route. One other thing I will add to this whole conversation is that I've had a number of conversations with our colleagues in Glades County, and I know that I think that they're very receptive to the special magistrate process. I don't know if the city of Clueston is still doing it. I know that they fired one and they hired another. I don't know. I haven't been brought up to speed on how well that's working for them. And I mentioned Glades County. I didn't mention the city of Moorhaven, but I think they're extremely receptive as well. So I think that we need to look at, the ability to get someone out here that may serve all of our interests, because essentially that's a judge or an attorney that's coming from, a coastal community, most likely, that's going to come in. They're going to charge a per hour rate, and we're going to be their client. Yeah, we're going to be their client to bring into compliance the issues that we want to see brought into compliance. And how well they perform or how well they don't perform is our ability to assess as well. And so, I'm looking forward to that. But, I want to bring to our attention that, I don't want to say we forfeited, because there is potential that we'll still get paid on things. And obviously it's good to see the language in there that covers interest and all of that stuff. But I think that this is not our job. Our job is to not be a landscaping company. Our job is to try to deal with blight.
Right.
So.
When the special magistrate does, the people have to show up with him?
Oh, just like court, if they'll be subpoenaed.
Because a lot of our lot mowers live out of state.
Right, and
so
yes.
What would happen in a case like that?
Well, if they don't show up, we can the special magistrate will still opine, and there'll be fines or findings that the owner will be copied on, and we'll go from there, depending on whether they come into compliance or if we have to continue with just the liens and a daily fine, possibly.
We have a lot of regular customers on lawn mowing.
We sure do, and which baffles me, because some of them have the wherewithal to be able to take care of it.
And then they're going to build up such a lien bill, it won't be worth the property.
So we should take it and sell it, because we sold a bunch of them.
Well, you could make extra money that way.
I'm not worried about making extra money. I'm worried about getting the bad performers to stop being bad performers.
Right,
Offset.
right.
Yes, sir.
So, would this shorten our time? For instance, if we was taken to the special magistrate, would this save us time?
Some of it, yes. It will. To some degree, it will, because right now what we're doing is like a 30-day cycle. And with the special magistrate, we could shorten it by having 2 a month and that. But we still have to make sure we're providing due process. And Mark will keep us square on that.
Well, just on the time saving though, if we're talking about the lot mowing, again, it's a
Talking
different
about-
process now. It is no process. I mean, it's a letter and then mow.
So it's
Right.
15 days. I would
Yeah,
just
now
keep-
for the
yeah.
mowing.
Right.
So the
yeah,
magistrate will probably be longer than the current.
for the mowing, yes.
For the mowing.
Yes.
I'm going to say it again. I want to get out of the lot mowing business. I want the daily fine process to be implemented, and I don't want us to run up a tab for overhead, because right now, and I understand it's an outside subcontractor. I get that, but I just think that it's asking too much of us to be able
Right.
to try to recoup
Especially
those
when they're able
finances.
to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Well, that and or the neighborhood boys should be out there with a lawnmower going around and charging $2 to mow their lawn for them, or 5 or 10, whatever.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve item D2 as presented, and I look forward to the conversation as it unfolds.
Second the motion.
May 28th meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Swindle. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Will bring us to awards and appearances. We have the proclaiming of the National Hospital Week. Did y'all give me 2 different ones this time? Just checking. Actually, I do not have the hospital one.
Here representing hospitals.
Yes, sir, if you would, come on up and state your name, please, sir. Don't have one on
Record, my name is John Belts. I'm the CFO at Henry Regional Medical Center.
there. Go ahead, sir.
Uh,
I'm looking for I don't see the proclamation. I have 2, but I don't,
Is there a third one?
y'all got me last time.
You can read the things in here if you want to read it.
Nah.
Track the official one now.
I'll read this one here. I got it. Do you have one? Yes, ma'am, I've got it. I just thought maybe we might have had.
Something like that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Resolution 2019, whereas the American Hospital Association has proclaimed May 12th to the 18th, 2019 is National Hospital Week, and whereas individuals all across the country will be celebrating the same honored event, and whereas the hardworking people that comprise Henry Regional Medical Center and other hospitals deserve unusual, universal regard and appreciation for keeping our community healthy. And whereas the commemorative celebration demonstrates that hospitals and foundations of the communities that build them nurture them, and whereas the residents are urged to express their appreciation for the people, the facilities, and technologies that make trustworthy, reliable health care possible in our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Hendry County, Florida, we do hereby proclaim May 12th to the 18th National Hospital Week.
I want to thank the commissioners for proclaiming the Hospital Week. We are celebrating at both the Henry Regional Medical Center campus and at the LaBelle campus all week long on behalf of the employees, celebrating Hospital Week. And again, thank you, commissioners, for recognizing the hospital and the various clinics in both LaBelle and Clewiston. And we appreciate your support for the hospital and our clinics. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That would be great if we can do that.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Thank you.
Okay, we had removed number 2, which was a Public Works Week. That was actually done at the last meeting. The next one is a proclamation of National Emergency Medical Service Week.
Adrian left.
He left.
Must have had an emergency. But that's next week, right? The actual dates are next week, correct? Yeah,
Yes,
19th through 25th.
19th through 25th.
And I'll tell you, and I think I've said it in this meeting before, and I'll say it again 2 different times. I've watched them save lives in front of me. and our staff and our people are just, I mean, second to none. So I got nothing but great things to say, and glad that they're in the presence and in Henry County.
Yes, sir.
So-
I can speak from a personal note on that as well. They saved the life of someone very close to me, and actually two of them in the last year. So their efforts do not go unnoticed, for sure. We're going to read this into the minutes. Proclamation of the Board of County Commissioners of Hendry County, Florida, declaring the week of May 19th through the 25th National Emergency Medical Services Week. You know, I really can read.
Yeah.
Just a little tongue-tied. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. Whereas the emergency medical service system consists of emergency physicians, nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and others. Whereas the member of the emergency medical service teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours, specialized training, and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. Whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of emergency medical services provided by the designated National Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Hendry County that May 19th through the 25th, 2019 is proclaimed as National EMS Week in Hendry County, Florida. The Board urges all residents to express their appreciation for the people, facilities, and technology that make trustworthy, reliable health care possible in our community. Thank you all very much.
Awesome. And next week is the Public Works barbecue, right?
Next Friday?
Nice. Next Friday at Pioneer? No. Is it, yeah, Pioneer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's right.
Pioneer. Yeah.
It's the 24th or the 23rd? So the 23rd is on Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Well, Thursday.
Ooh,
Tighten
I
up,
got that
Mr.
wrong.
Swindle.
I got it
They
wrong.
don't work
Okay.
on Friday.
Yeah, they don't work on Friday.
Don't work on Friday.
Okay, so that's going to bring us to public hearings. There's nothing under correspondence. Under FYI, we had the project update. Everybody's good on that?
Yep.
And the Hope Connections update. That brings us to staff reports.
I like the roaming meetings.
Okay, there's one change. The Montour should be February 11th.
Why is it not the 18th?
Because that's
it's
the
wrong
third Thursday of
Date's
the
messed
month.
up.
The only thing I would ask is that y'all make sure it coincides. It gets hard for him. He's going to have children that are showing in the Henry County Fair and Livestock Show, and so that's usually a big steer night. So if he could
That's right.
do that.
Glad
And,
you thought of that because I
you know,
did not.
I'm just worried about your children.
Yeah.
That's all.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Someone has to.
Around February 11th.
Yes, sir. Usually.
Yeah, if we
somewhere
could
there.
switch that with another one, that'd be great. February.
So you might have to change that date.
Change to August.
Oh,
Problem.
I wouldn't change it because that building is not air conditioned. I don't believe. I do
The
it during a
clubhouse?
cooler month.
Yeah, it needs to be a cold one.
Yeah.
I've been there before.
I was there Sunday.
So
Yeah,
you
I
gonna
was
leave
looking
it?
at things.
You gonna leave it to 11th?
But it's
We can,
yeah,
we'll
just
look
see.
at the
Yeah.
calendar and.
With Pioneer or something if you can. If
Okay.
That's doable.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Any other comments?
Pioneer's November. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, sir.
They're all right if you change that to the 11th.
Okay.
Okay, so we,
I move to accept.
I'll second the motion.
I have some
Schedule.
discussion, Mr. Chair.
okay, go
Is
ahead.
Commissioner Harris anticipating he's going to go, or is he going to formally protest?
No, I've never missed one yet.
Okay, I just want to make sure because you said you weren't going
No,
whenever we
I didn't.
moved. Yes, you did. It was
I heard
actually it
you
was
say that.
recorded and everyone heard it. I got 17 texts. Everybody said, you don't even need him there anyway. I said you won't be talking about my man Commissioner Harris like that.
Mr. Bosley always feeds me. So
Okay.
that's the reason I'm going to there.
Okay, so we got a motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Swindle. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And just to clarify, this is subject to change, obviously. It's,
Yes, ma'am.
it's-
Yeah, we'll
it
change
is-
the date,
All
yeah.
right.
Who we got, Mr. Parker?
Change order.
For the record, Shane Parker, Public Works Director. I have before you, this is change order number 3 to STA number 6 for the remainder of the facade renovations to the admin and judicial in the amount of $1,036,969.41, which
Mr.
takes
Chair,
care.
I make a motion to approve the change order in the amount of $36,969.41, which has all of the other contingencies that are in there in the GMP or the gross maximum price, and the 6% construction management number. I'd also like to make it matter of record that Quality Electric's never had $1 million, $36,000 change order. It would be a lot cooler if we did. But I do understand why. I understand why you're doing this in the process that you get, and so I just don't want this to be out in the public that it's a $1 million change order and everything. I know that there was a strategic move behind this. I know that we as a board met and discussed this on multiple opportunities. And this is simply the mechanism to take a contractor that's already mobilized and on site, has performed, has extreme intimate knowledge of what's going on there, and compress the timeline of something that's desperately needed in that courthouse.
And this is starting a whole new project.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Finish around the building.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
On a similar but related note, then from there, what about the jail and those facilities? How are they coming along? I know that's
Jail and what?
The jail, the admin building for the sheriff's department and stuff like that. How are they moving along as well?
The jail, we have the presentations this Thursday
Okay.
Presentations for?
for the jail.
Okay.
For? The presentations are for what?
For the jail, modificate whatever work needs to be done at the,
The
jail.
construction manager.
Construction manager.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure where you're going. Like,
Yeah.
But I mean, I just think that not everybody knows. I want to make sure we're all on the same page because the construction manager is going to come in. That doesn't mean they're going to start turning a screw and doing actual work. They're going to now sit down with Alan, with the sheriff, with you all, I presume, and they're going to come up with a plan of attack, so to speak, on what we're going to do with the jail and what's the most pressing items.
so if it's an issue with the roof, then we'll have to prepare an STA just for the roof
Yes.
after we have the
But that's
contract
not been
executed.
done yet.
No.
No, this is
Presentations, then selection of construction manager, brought back to the board for approval of selection committee, or you can mix it up however you want to. You pick the construction manager, and then once that's done, contract executed, then we have to figure out what the
contract
first
executed just for the CM.
CM.
So the person that has displayed to our staff the confidence and them giving us a recommendation back to say, this is who we want to be the construction management firm for said projects that are going to occur. Then they're going to design and point out to us the list of 20 or the list of 3 or the list of 18, whatever it may be, items that are going to be addressed in that jail, administrative wing, all of that. Is that fair?
That's fair. They can bring that list back to you.
Yep.
And you can prioritize which ones you want to do first, and then direct staff to get an STA for whichever the hot topics are. I don't know if it's the roof, the walls.
That's the purpose of that.
Should be the roof.
Right. It'll be a 5-year contract. So whatever comes up that needs to be done, you've got a contractor you can go select to do whatever work project it is, construction.
Chairman Wills, what do you dislike about that?
No, there's not a dislike. They're actually, I know the gentleman we had from Lee County years ago with the jail, Dan, was a thorn, but there was a lot of things he caught that saved us money too.
Yes, sir.
So to have someone with again, expertise in this field is going to make a big difference for the county as far as cost and time. He saved us a lot of money and time. So I believe we're moving in the right direction there, I feel.
I remember Dan.
Everybody remembers Dan probably. I had to work with him firsthand, and yep. He saved us a lot of money.
Also remember Hammer Construction.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Ooh, that's bad news.
We're going through the memories.
Yeah, I had to work with him
Okay,
too.
sorry to go down a rabbit hole, but I was just interested in knowing because I know that apparently the courthouse has come along very well. I want to make sure the jail gets brought into that up there as well. I was in there the week before last, and they need some help there too.
Are they getting ready to move in the health department?
That's
Getting close.
Mr. Chair. That's what I wanted to ask, Commissioner Harris. Could you want to know about the health department? But can we also go back to the courthouse and what is our timeline? But you can go health department first if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I thought they were about ready with the health department.
They had their if I remember right, their lease goes to the end of June,
Oh, okay.
and then they can move in. The furniture I think is getting delivered this week. AC repairs, the HVAC repairs were starting. I want to say this week also. No, it was last week. No, I'm sorry. Furniture was last week.
And didn't we approve some more modification changes for hardening and some wall different stuff like that?
Well, they did.
They made a
Okay.
request.
But we approved it, and then they're going to go do it, right? It's not been done yet.
They're gonna pay
No,
for
those
it.
have not been done. And what happened there was the board, we're going to have to bring a change order back to you in May, removing the window hardening off that project with Christel because
We removed it.
in the interlocal agreement, I don't think we did a change order for it, have
Oh,
we?
okay, yeah, we removed it in the interlocal agreement, that's right.
Right. The board approved the window upgrades, new storefront glass and doors. That was if they didn't get the grant. They got the grant. The grant's a federal grant. We didn't go through the federal procurement process, have any federal language in our, we did an informal RFQ because we had building damage we need to replace ASAP. So we're going to have to go through a whole separate selection process to, in compliance with the grant criteria
For those windows and things.
for those windows
Oh,
and
they're
generators.
another year. They're another year out then.
So that caused them to be out.
So-
there.
Year out.
And that's for two buildings. That's for over here and over there. And
Yep. So they can't move in until that's done, correct?
no, they can move in
Oh, they can
because that
move
could be
in, they can
changed
do
out
then?
while they're there.
Okay.
So the furniture, if I remember right, the furniture was getting delivered last week.
Mm-hmm.
The HVAC repairs were starting last week. The paint, we're not moving forward with the painting of the exterior of the building because the windows, we're going to do that after the windows. We don't do it because they were taking certain components off, and we don't want to do that because if we take them off and then the windows aren't placed, they need to put the shutters up, hurricane shutters. That's not going to work.
Okay.
So it's getting close to getting finished. They'll be moving in, scheduled to move in. There's no delays there.
But Shane, you just drive by. You don't do anything associated with that project.
No, I don't do anything associated. The only other thing we did was I had Road and Bridge go fix the parking lot. There was some oak roots pushing up the asphalt. I had Road and Bridge take that out. I got prices that I have to get the administrator approval for seal coating the parking lot and restriping it. We have those now. I had Port LaBelle Utilities go in and fix the backflow prevention assembly that got damaged during a hurricane. I had Road and Bridge take the trees out so Port LaBelle can do it. Just little things like that, tidying
Shane,
up.
off the hip, what did sealing that? How many bids did you have? How many people did you have touching?
Three quotes.
What were the numbers?
I
Just
think the low one was probably like around $6,000, $7,000.
oh,
somewhere
really?
there.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's restripe,
Seal.
that seal coat, and restripe the parking lot.
Wow.
We got a better deal at the boat ramp.
We did.
Yeah.
Was it smaller or bigger?
Smaller.
Smaller.
That boat ramp parking lot's big.
It is
Not
big.
compared to the other
Parking lot.
It's bigger than,
Not the
Yeah,
other
I
part.
think it is too.
Commissioner Harris was in charge of that deal.
Oh, ho, ho. It's on the north side of the river. Yeah.
We have lost a
Beat you
few
down,
small
man.
children in that.
He beat you down.
Yeah.
so when you gonna fix, the entrance to Pratt?
To Pratt, that dip in the road.
Goes like this, that you was gonna fix 3 years ago.
It's coming.
Oh, man.
Is that Davis Pratt Park?
No.
It's been there a while.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to get fixed anytime soon unless the board says it's a priority. That's not, I think it's really low level.
I
But
thought that was part of the reason we did the whole line of credit to fix stuff like that.
We
well, it's
did.
just the asphalt. It's where the road goes down. We need to bring their level of the road up, and I have to dig down on one side and
I
bust
don't
some
remember
cap.
anything about a line of credit in Pratt Boulevard. We had a list of old capital improvement
I
projects.
thought that was on. I thought all those were on there.
It don't,
think
like
that's
road.
road.
That's road. That should be the road
I'm
and
about
bridge.
to make my
repair.
ulcer bleed.
It
It's
don't
not a
go
pothole,
down
it's
a
just
little
a-
bit. It
Yeah,
goes like
I
this.
see. I know what you're talking about.
All right.
See, man, this guy. See, look at we trying to slide them all in there. You get as bad as Commissioner Harris.
Fix it up. Let's fix it up.
Just fix it up. You
So
know,
what
so-
year we gonna fix it in?
2025.
I hope it ain't 2025. But
I would ask Mr. Parker, could you bring back estimates for Commissioner Harris, or is that a difficult process?
It's a difficult process.
Is it? I mean, are we talking about $750,000 to fix that, or
no.
What are we
We have to
talking
do
about?
it when we're paving.
and that is when on the grand scheme of?
That area is not to be paved anytime soon.
'Cause
We're
he
working
gets
on Alice
everything
Street.
Paved, everything.
Listen to it.
Well, it's true. You get all your stuff paved. We're not mad, Commissioner. We're at admiration. of
Okay.
How many sidewalks and roads you've gotten paved in the last 730 days?
You need to say.
I can promise you, I have a statue
Hey,
of you
you
bronze.
might
at
want to
my
go ahead
house.
and move forward. We're going to get stuck on paving all these roads.
I got one more staff report.
I have one more before we leave this
Oh, go-
subject.
you go
Do you have a timeline associated with? I mean, obviously, we just did $1 million worth of improvements for Christel to go forward. But what are they saying from a timeline to where we're going to have our constitutional officers and the school board, everybody in there is going to be happy and in basically a
That's
refurbished facility?
That's a long. We don't have a timeline for that
Okay.
because we got to do.
But that
We got to do phase 2 exterior of the historical courthouse. I've got to review plans for that. We're getting quotes, rough quotes, from Christel, working with Parker Mudgett Smith to do HVAC renovations, improvements to the historical courthouse. That would mean putting it possibly on a new chiller system, separate chiller system, getting rid of all the ground unit AC units. You'd have to redo the interior wall so you can keep the cool and heat out because it's not insulated. Redoing the ceilings, so that's going to be expensive. I don't know how much. We're just talking about it now. So
Are there some look at the interior walls in there now?
they're going to be looking in the interior walls.
Not just for that, but they got to be repaired. There's places there now where it's just huge chunks peeling off.
Yes,
because
they're
going
going
to
have to do that. Right.
That's going to happen.
That's going to happen.
Okay.
Yep.
Could they give us, Mr. Chair, could they give us an overall, scope with what, just a review of what we've done? Because I'm not even gonna lie, it's all starting to run together. What's happened on the school administrative wing? Our chimes are working in the clock tower. I love that.
Clockworks.
Are they done?
Clockworks, yeah.
Is it done? But it's happening though.
Yes.
And just little things like that, and just give us a general once over, and then what we're looking at from a foreseeable future. Yes, sir.
I'd love to see that myself.
Because even if we're spending $4 or $5 million in the grand scheme of things, it's $4 or $5 million on a facility that's been there how long, and how many times has it been, to Commissioner Wills' point, band-aided or Neosporin or duct taped or baling wire? And then the conversation was building a new complex at a floor of $40 million.
Yeah.
So I think it's a wise investment. Could they do that for us? Could Christel and you do that? And obviously, this isn't something we need done in the next
We can
45
come up
days.
with
I'm
we
talking
can
about
come up with a time frame of what's been done, projects completed, money spent,
Yep.
and then
And
moving
projected
forward
future, yeah.
and projected future.
Yeah,
But
that'd be good.
Even with the list that Ms. Butland did it line up with everything?
I didn't see that list. I know Jennifer and Alan was working with them. I was just dealing with the exterior
all of the
problems to get the
constitutionals
GMP there.
All of the
Everybody
constitutionals were.
that-
All of y'all sat down with our county administrator and kind of went over a general overview of what is not proper in the courthouse. Correct?
Well, Ms. Butler got that fake.
No, what y'all did.
I think that should have.
I've sat down with Alan.
Okay,
Well,
I bet
that's
that
what
was
we
it.
need
Then
to
I bet
do.
that was the direction. Yeah.
It wasn't with Jennifer.
Okay.
It was with Alan.
Okay. Yeah.
And we went through, what needed to be done and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. And we
Yeah.
didn't all sit down together. No.
Okay.
Showed him the leaky windows and all that.
Yeah, he knows. Alan knows.
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
Sure.
First step was to do the exterior to get it going
Yes.
and find out if there's
Right.
any. Get that done to move to the inside.
Right.
No sense putting new carpet in there if you're gonna let the water run on it.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
I like my office painted.
Yeah.
It ain't been painted since it was built.
Well, you need to tell Coach Clark to tighten up, get him a roller at Home Depot or Ace Hardware, and get after it.
Hey,
Throw some.
flat,
Right.
getting some flat white.
I don't believe that, man. I don't believe that.
Bad news.
Golly, she went just overboard. on
Saying
me.
again, you might want to go ahead and move on before Steve turns any redder than he is.
Losing control here.
I'm glad nobody likes each other.
Shane.
Yes, sir.
What about the Dallas Townsend building?
Sir,
You heard anything on Dallas Townsend building?
I heard we're looking at trying to construct a smaller portion. Janet supposedly got some extra funding coming from FDAX.
So it'll be another year or two away.
No, they actually, the CM contractor was looking at that, actually having a meeting about that yesterday. I believe it was, no, sorry, today with the architect, Matt Betchell. Plans are already done for everything, but the price is too much for what's designed,
Right.
so.
I'd like to see an electronic mail giving us the update of what that is as well. That would be wonderful.
Of the what?
Of the original, I want to say it was 190,000, but it may have been 290. I don't recall exactly.
For the Dallas Townsend?
For the Dallas Townsend upgrades to that facility, so they could be able to host something.
I want to say the price came in at like $5.
The price came in from the CM,
Like
and to
$500,
me,
$600.
that goes right into what I'm talking about. And listen, I don't know who they are. It may be my uncle. I don't know. But if he knows we have $190,000, or she knows we have $190,000 to play with, and then they give us a $500,000, really, bud? I mean, what are you thinking here? And to me, that automatically puts a giant black mark, X, all this stuff by your name. And I don't want to use you as a realtor anymore because you're showing me a house that's outside of my budget, and you're just making me angry. You know?
On the price we got, and that we already had a set of plans that showed building improvements, everything was already designed, ready to go. It's like, here it is, go quote that price for it. We already have everything designed. It also included not only building improvements, but utility improvements just to get it water, sewer, grease trap, stuff like that, parking lot revisions.
You know, I was accused of being anti that project whenever it came out, even though I worked my butt off in Tallahassee to see that the lobbying, that the finances came down the way. But the biggest reason why I was anti it was because it just seems to me like that's the definition of government competing against private industry, or what would we have done if we took the Civic Center and punched 190 grand into it, So I don't know. This is a tough one. And now this has been sitting out there for how many years? I bet it's going on close to 3 years.
Don't know.
And I'm scared to death that, Putnam's gone. Now Commissioner Freed's in there. They start looking at what they've awarded us and what we've actually done with it. They start to scorecard us. They say, you know what, you guys are incompetent.
Bad investment.
And they don't say the CM at risk is incompetent, or they don't say, whoever staff level is incompetent. They tell all of us, I'm not giving you another dollar because what I've given you thus far, you've done nothing with it,
They must have said that 5 or 6 years ago.
They darn sure did. When we had the 1.5, I think it was, approved by the legislature for the force main, and it may even have been more than that, but it was a substantial number that we had. And I'll never forget, and I've used that anecdote on a number of occasions, and I'm sitting with, I think it was Bad Pfeiffer, but it was Governor Scott's chief of staff at the time, and he said, Commissioner, because I asked him, why do you keep looking at your iPad? I'm sorry, sir, I've driven 6 hours, but you're being very disrespectful right now. And he said, whoa, hold on. I don't mean to be disrespectful. Please don't take it that way. I'm just telling you, please stop saying I don't know why Governor Scott vetoed this request. He never saw it. I'm the one that vetoed it, Commissioner. This never got to the governor's desk. I looked at it because guess what? Commissioner, if I gave you $12 million for the force main today, I wrote you a check and I said, here. Or you told me the number's $100 million and I gave it to you. Here. He said, not that we would ever do that. He goes, you're 2 years today. You're 2 years before you can turn dirt. And he goes, and that's a stupid investment by the state of Florida. And I went, wait, educate me a little bit. And he goes, oh, so suddenly we're calm and want to talk, huh? And I said, yeah, I'm sorry. And he said, okay, this is what happens. And, and then he stepped me through the process. And then that's when we hired Tetra Tech. We identified easements. We started looking at how many people, and we said we're going to phase this thing out. And Charles was very receptive to that. And then the next year we go up there and I think we got $500,000, and that gave us phase one was completed or a portion thereof. And I think we just broke it down and looked at it. And now we realize, for a number of years we were asking for, I think, 3, maybe 6 million. That total project's about $11 million, That was a woefully underfunded ask that we were doing. So what if they would have given it to us? Then we'd had even more egg on our face because we wouldn't have gotten anything done that we needed to get done. So I think we got to be strategic in those things.
Shovel ready.
Shovel ready. Yep. Man, remember when that was the flavor of the day?
You're
Shovel
not
ready.
shovel
It's
ready.
a
You're not
gun.
gonna get it.
It'll happen. It's always got to be a shovel ready.
With shovel ready to put sidewalks in Felder.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Oh, God.
All right, my walk-on item for the courthouse. Renovation of the restrooms on the judicial wing, first floor. Men's and women's restroom does not work. There was some corrosive pipes, water's leaking, wall damage. Christelle went in, did some exploratory work, and in doing it, we're going to have to replace the walls, some fixtures, some piping, and we want to move forward with renovations while it's already down. The price to do both restrooms, including taking it back to the studs, redoing the walls, the tiles, taking the old VCT tile, the vinyl tile out and putting tile down, redoing the ceiling, getting rid of the acoustical ceiling tile so they can't put paraphernalia or contraband or whatever up there, making it a hard top ceiling, redoing the light fixtures, new countertops, not for Micah, but
Tell us the number, man.
$76,169.99. I got the individual quote sheets from the different people, the plumber, the demolition. I looked at all of that. I think the problem that's high is because you don't have a lot of work going on in the courthouse. You only have a little bit, so it's kind of hard to spread some of the up. You got all certain costs for inherent to certain projects. If you had more, you could spread it out. You'd minimize it, but we don't have that. We just have bathrooms that are leaking. No one's using them. and it doesn't make sense to do the walls and then have to tear it back out later to renovate it.
I move option one.
So, and that's
Second
4 to
with
6
a-
weeks.
With how many?
4 to 6 weeks to play, and they're going to have to shut my understanding from Alan,
All three.
meeting with him yesterday, they're going to shut the whole bathroom down on the judicial wing.
So Commissioner
Third,
Wills,
second, first floor.
this is something that has to occur.
It is.
Okay.
And all three, they got to shut all three down. They're all phased. They're all together. There's no shut-offs on
And
other
third floor all gotta get
bathrooms.
shut off.
Plumbing has to be done. There's quite a
But
bit
Commissioner
there.
Wills, this was a number for just the first floor.
Bottom floor's getting ready.
Why?
First floor, we're
All
going
the
to get done,
bathrooms are getting
and
shut
from
off
that
and
point
do
on, we'll be
renovation.
able to in-house.
How
we'll
we
be able to-
house
Can't shut them one-off individuals, is what they're saying. You can't shut.
Cannot.
But that's
You
not
can't
my
shut 2 and 3.
But my main question is this isn't a situation where something's failing in one, and then we're going to go spend 76 grand. To your point, it's a cost by volume number that's making the number so high. But then 6 months from now or 90 days, it's bathroom 2, second floor is failing as well. I don't want this to have to come back before us and us have to deal with
It's
that.
not going to be the situation. The failing is not going to be the situation. The failing happened above is coming down.
Okay.
So that's the reason the first floor is in the worst condition.
And are we addressing all of it?
They're addressing all of
Yes,
it.
they have to
My
shut it all
understanding,
down.
it's all getting addressed.
They have to
Okay.
address the whole thing in order to fix it.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you what the second or third floor bathrooms look like. I have no clue.
The second or third floor when the first floor is completed, we don't have no other choice right now.
Right.
And this is not just water. We have a problem.
Oh,
It has to be fixed now.
just the one when you come in the side door closest to
Right to
McDonald's,
your
right
left.
there on your left.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I
It's
wanna-
pretty
yeah,
rugged.
yeah,
Those
yeah, I
those
know.
bathrooms are all straight up and down there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
But once the first floor is done, understand that, again, we don't have a contractor that can go in there and fix that right now, but
Okay.
they do.
Okay.
The other ones we can
Okay.
do.
All right.
Because they have to cut all the valves off at the same time.
Well, they got to cut it all off, and they got to put valves in.
So
There
how
is no
would they
valves.
house? How would they house everybody?
Oh,
There's
the
other
bathrooms.
bathrooms.
There's other bathrooms they can.
There's other bedrooms in the
They just
building.
gotta field trip
There's-
it.
Yeah.
Right. There's other bathrooms.
And we're adding a man door into the chase, so Alan can
Right.
have
There
access.
was
'cause
no
he
way
doesn't
in
have
there.
it now.
It never has been. No. The bathrooms to send them to, yes, ma'am. They can move them they can take them to the administrative side to use restrooms.
Or the school side.
Or the school side, actually. That's correct. Which school side doesn't have the ADA,
That's true.
but on the other side, we
Gotta be
can.
done.
You got them on the second floor?
Porta potty.
Well, they're all gonna be shut right there. Great thing. So school is gonna be the only options for bathrooms. So that-
You can rent
that-
those.
that's
They
another-
got,
that's
not
another
being
problem.
funny, but you can rent those. It looks like a trailer office building. But
Well, they're
it's
air
ADA compliant,
conditioned.
everything.
It's nice.
Yeah, but then you
it's
gotta-
better than a porta potty.
Your problem with that is you got a security going in and out. So if you gotta take somebody in and out of the judicial side, that's just not,
Oh yeah.
that's
yeah.
not gonna be the answer. Alan had an answer for that. I asked that question, I just don't remember it off the top of my head, but he had a situation figured out to use the restrooms, but I don't wanna,
I don't remember. He just told me we're going to the.
yeah, he told me they was
historic
gonna have it
courthouse.
figured out, but I don't know exactly what that's gonna be, so.
I'm ready to vote.
Yeah, we just need, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We had a motion for Commissioner Swindle, second by Commissioner Harris. Is there any further discussion on this one?
No, sir.
Seeing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Chris Dale's doing pretty good.
Mr. Lapp?
Yes, I've got one item that's an item Ms. Davis worked on. It's the proposed interlocal agreement with the sheriff's office. It was emailed to you this afternoon, handed out to you.
Mr. Chair, what happened that made the catalyst for this to occur? We had a second party vendor, right?
We do.
And then did they walk?
No, sure, but we've had, over the years, we've had a lot of problems with that vendor.
Okay. And so then did the judges request, I mean, what,
I don't think the judges were involved in this. This is something, I know that Don Oliver was involved. There was several other conversations.
okay.
We have had a lot of issues with this vendor.
And as you as chair, Public Safety Coordinating Council, has this been vetted there? Y'all feel good or?
We have not discussed this
No?
yet.
Okay.
We have not.
All right.
But Jennifer, we did have a discussion,
Okay.
and they're not satisfied.
Okay.
They're pulling people in off the street, giving them a gun.
They have
So are we doing away with them as a
Yes.
contractor? Okay.
We'd be getting away from them. The sheriff,
Okay.
county administrator has talked with the sheriff, and they can come couple employees and take over the situation for us. There was a cost on there for that.
Is this here just for information or adoption?
This is for adoption.
This was, if we were going to take,
We're going to implement this.
right, we're going to implement it, right.
Why didn't they put a cost on it?
There is a cost there.
Where's it at?
Well, I'm trying to look
It's
mine.
county responsibilities number 4, $10,000 per month.
10,000 a month, 120 a year. Right.
Well, so, when I was talking to Jennifer, I think it was like 40,000 more than we're paying now.
Oh, I know.
To collect more than that, I believe. Well,
It was 20,000 more.
Well,
Yeah.
at the time I talked to her, it's 40.
that's correct. Yes, sir. I believe that's correct.
But it
40
was
and 45,
75, and
something
then
like
it
that.
went to 120. It was negotiated from 150 down to 120.
Was you in on that, Kevin? Was you in on that, the moneyed part?
They wanted 150. They had negotiated down to 120, if I'm correct.
So is it 40 different or 20 different?
40.
Kevin Nelson, Sheriff's Office. Yes, we were approached by Don Oliver, and a lot of that came out of the Supreme Court's recommendations for the sheriffs, and plus the statute coming out now from the legislature talking about the sheriffs having security of the courthouses. So we gave her a price to cover 2 deputies, are sworn, so they'll be certified law enforcement officers to work the security in the front of the courthouse, and we'll also cross-train them with the bailiffs too, so we can use them interchangeably. The good part about it is they're law enforcement officers. I mean, they can make an arrest if something happens in the courthouse facility. The other thing too that's a plus is if one of them's out, calls in sick, can't get to work or whatever, we can move a patrol deputy over there to cover it immediately, so they're not down.
Right, and that was part of the conversation, sir, we had today, and that was, I was glad to hear that. And she said that actually the conversation maybe entailed that we local deputies as well may be there. So, and I thought that was a good idea as well. So,
Yes.
and the coverage was big because a lot of times we weren't afforded that. Sometimes we had them coming in and they did not look professional. They did not act professional.
Right.
So, and that's going to be a huge difference there. She did speak about Lee County, and the problem there is they're housed all in the same place. So it would be a different situation. Lee County, they're not armed, but the jail is actually in the facility. So that's the reason there's a little bit of a difference on our side of it.
And not just that, they're hiring 2 bodies.
Yeah, we'll be hiring 2 local deputies.
Yeah.
2 additional.
Yes.
Right. You're not covering this in-house. You have to hire. You have to bring on
We have to bring on 2 additional.
folks. We're putting more people to work in Hendry County.
Right, 2
That's how I
more
started this
Henry
meeting.
County residents will go to work. The other thing is the training, that we offer, they'll be able to attend all that training too, so, we'll be constantly.
Say, Barbara, is there any money out of the judges that helps pay for this, or is this all county funded? Do they pay any portion of this?
Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't all this come from the county?
It does, but there's a reoccurring fund that we spoke about today, Commissioner Harris, that the county administrator has identified a reoccurring fund that can cover this. That's
Cover the full amount?
yes, sir.
or
Full
partial?
amount. No, sir. The
And
full
some of
amount.
it- Mr. Chair, some of it is coming out the sheriff. I don't remember every word for word, but some of it is coming from the sheriff.
Right,
budget also, plus
the
county
price that we offered is salaries and benefits only. The sheriff is absorbing the vehicles, equipment, uniforms.
Shouldn't be a vehicle, shouldn't it?
Don't need no vehicle.
Shouldn't be a vehicle.
Well, if they're bailiffs, we'll need to probably issue a vehicle. They're not gonna get a new one.
Yeah.
They're covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and bear in mind too, we're already paying about 3/4 of what this will cost anyway, so it's not new revenue that
Yeah,
we have to
I
come
know,
up with.
but-
It's transferring from the
course.
contract over to this.
It's going to be a better situation, I do believe.
It was actually about $30,000 more than what you'd be paying for private security.
It'll be better.
Yeah.
Right. I've been there as well, so that's, again,
Do we have a motion for this already?
we do not.
I'll make a motion.
I second.
And just to be clear, consistent with my email to you, the motion is to approve the interlocal agreement that's provided to you, subject to revisions that may be requested by the sheriff's office, because they didn't see this yet, which revisions would be under my review, and then there may have been some typographical errors and just authority to make those changes as well.
Okay.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Byrd. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. This time, is there anyone in the public would like to speak? I'm going to get you. Yes, ma'am. I haven't forgot you. I got it laying right here in front of me. Seeing, yes, sir. Would you come on up? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Fred Mosley, and have here on Jennifer's agenda here for the roaming meetings. That was brought up, I think, last month. Pioneer had their meeting last night, and they would sure welcome for you to come out and have the meetings there. And one thing that they'd like to ask, if you could consider 6 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock, but that decision's up to you. Some of them, a lot of them work out of town. That would see if we can get more people there than just what here tonight.
I like it.
Yes, sir. I do as well. We just got to feed Commissioner Harris.
Yep.
He's already, Mr. Bosley's already on the hook for that.
You want to come a little bit early?
Yeah.
No,
No?
we're gonna eat after the meeting.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That is something we need to. Commissioner Turner talked about that when we
Yes.
first started talking about this. The time. So.
Yeah.
Can you mark that down, Mark,
Yes.
so we can change that time?
We're talking about the Pioneer meeting to occur at
Yes.
6.
Yeah. I think you're going to find the community meetings. We're going to probably need to move them all back to 6 to make it convenient for everyone.
And maybe change with,
I know that some of y'all got to drive a little further, but
Especially when we go to Seminoles.
that's going to be a road trip. We'll go down early that day and fish.
And the second
Will
thing,
arrest you.
this is not Mr. Harris's deal. It's Mr. Turner's.
Uh-oh.
We got a dip in Henry Isles Boulevard,
Bad. Right there across from the.
300 foot south of the fire station.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. South. That's not what I was thinking. I was thinking of the bad spot on the corner right there, north of the fire station when it caught on fire, remember?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, what I can remember, we got paid for that for the insurance. And
Through the personal insurance.
Shane put that money in the kitty
Yep.
For some other time.
That's to pave them roads.
And I remember that.
I do as well.
Shane can't remember that.
Now, the fella fixed his fence. The insurance company paid for that and the damage on it.
Yes, sir.
But,
Mr. Brother, you said 300 feet south of the fire station on Henry Isles.
yes.
It's a
on-
dip.
On the,
Okay.
On the south side.
Okay.
No, it's before the wetland.
Before the
Yes.
Okay.
And it's coming over just a little bit more and more all the time. We don't have any berm, just like a lot of other roads. The easement wasn't wide enough to start with. But I think just right at south of the intersection there at Arcadia, that was taken care of, and it was all the way across. Maybe an old culvert caved in or so, but this one here, we got a lot of trucks. A lot of things are happening in Pioneer.
Tremendous amount of growth.
Yes.
I would bet between Pioneer and Montero, if you flip a coin, it'd be interesting to see who's growing the fastest. You know, in Pioneer.
Are they growing with mobiles, houses, or?
A little bit of both. Mostly it's mobile homes. Would you agree with that, Mr. Bosley?
Okay.
Would you agree that it's mostly mobile homes that are moving in? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bosley.
Fine, thank you.
To that point, Mr. Chair, Shane, I know you received a really verbose and articulately written email from Dr. Deb. I don't know if you had time to look at any of those issues, but if y'all could get out there, I just think that, especially with the rains that we've had recently, I know there's been a handful of washouts that have occurred. No infrastructure failings, but, it's starting to show it close, so to speak. And so, we get in the afternoon pattern and those roads get pretty bad quickly. I do have some other stuff I want to bring up about Pioneer, but I'll wait until it's my time.
Okay. We have one more. This is, it was under consent, but did not get put on as option to purchase property. Ms. Butler said she has most of these already sold, correct, Ms. Butler? Does everyone have a copy of this? Is it just one copy?
One person?
Does she give us all?
Do you all have that?
Mr. Chair, you want a motion on this or one option
actually,
one?
we're gonna need a motion on it.
All of them at Port LaBelle.
All of them's in Port LaBelle?
Oh, really?
Well, actually, option one says to decline the purchase.
Well, you don't wanna buy them.
Okay, so
Oh,
they're asking us to
right.
buy them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we're not-
Nobody bought them at the sale,
Okay.
so the county's got 90 days.
we don't want them.
Okay, I got you.
So we're wanting to formally decline the option to purchase these and then allow them to go to the open market, at which point now they're gonna be on the courthouse steps for you to make action happen, or you're gonna sell them individual. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Somebody
Okay.
will buy them.
Yep.
So we don't need to
It's
do
a
any
fee,
action.
Vinci.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, we
Yes,
got
we
to.
do, we have to,
I said so moved,
Decline.
didn't I?
we need to,
Option
we need
one.
option one.
I'll
yes.
second Commissioner Turner's motion.
Yep.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Swindle for option one. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. It's gonna bring us to the by districts. We'll start down here this time. Commissioner, go ahead.
Yes. I took the liberty of signing up the Henry County Board of County Commissioners to do a Super Tiger sponsor for the golf tournament that happened this past weekend. So y'all owe me $100. I'm gonna throw 200 of it, but I was glad we did that.
All of us.
So 100, 100, 100, 100.
You said
and I'm doing
100.
two.
So long
no,
as we
sir.
owe you, never
It's
go broke,
semantics,
right?
sir. And then listen, I want to encourage y'all. I want to encourage, especially Ms. Bird and Commissioner Swindle. I don't know if the Tiger Boosters have reached out to y'all personally, but I do want to aggravate y'all about engaging in that process a little bit.
I didn't even know about it.
See there? See there? You better tighten up.
I didn't know.
At the
We had 100+ people that were there, Commissioner Swindle.
If I don't know what I don't know.
Well, Commissioner Swindle, where are you at? That's what I'm going to ask. What are you doing? You're worried about this adult school. You
Yeah.
act like you're a dad. You need to tighten up, okay? And so every time I turn around, you're over there hanging out with the Southwest Florida Community Foundation, trying to get some more money, all right?
That works.
I need $100. That's what I need. And I just, I want y'all to know it was a great tournament. I don't know what the numbers are that they actually raised, but that goes into underwriting all of the programs. Commissioner Harris, are you on, is it the quarterback club for LaBelle? Is it the LaBelle quarterback club? Are you in there too, Commissioner Wills?
I'm not in that club, but I am on. I'm glad that we're doing this because I'll be sure I sign us up tomorrow for the Cowboys Golf Club.
Please
tournament,
do.
which is
If y'all
coming up.
have one, I think
That's 100, 100, 102, you said?
y'all do. It goes in veranda, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I do. I think that we should do that because listen, I remember when I got on this board, and I remember coming to the meetings 2 years prior to being on the board, all the budget workshops. Fortunate enough to never miss one, and we cut all of those donations out. We were given, I want to say, 2,000 to Tiger Boosters, 2,000 to the LaBelle Quarterback Club, 1,000 to the Cougars, 1,000 to the LaBelle Longhorns. We did something for Kiwanis. I mean, the line item, if I remember correctly, was around $20,000 a year we were giving out to our communities, and we cut all of that out. And then we even went and did a little bit more from a standpoint of not being able to support. And I've called y'all 2 or 3 times this year. It's been awesome to see us come out of our own pockets personally. I am not advocating for us to do county taxpayers' dollars going back in. When y'all ready to broach that subject, I'm all about having that chat then. But I do think that we can afford a couple $100 every now and again internally amongst ourselves, and I think that it gets our word out there as far as the board is concerned. I also asked our county administrator and Emily, Ms. Hunter, and Shane, but I guess there are no Gophers in the county because they didn't find anybody for us to put on that team. So I just filled it up with 3 humans. I don't even know who they were. And it may have been we had 3 teams out of 36 that weren't even present. So it worked out well.
Still got the money.
We still got the money because you're going to give us $100, all of you.
Yes, we
and
Who you make it out to?
Tiger Boosters. And then that also, I want y'all to know, it's going to give us an ad. I want our picture in the game program. And I would like for us to get a banner of sorts that is hung on the fence at the games. That'll be at all the home games for us to see. So
You gonna pay for that
it's a
too,
great
right?
deal. No, ma'am, we'll pay for that with our 600. It's all in there. I think it's the best deal going for the Tigers. So I know you give me a hard time, Ms. Berger. Well, that was a good deal. Thank y'all very much for coming to the May 7th meeting. I tell y'all, that thing is going to pay dividends for us. It really is going to pay dividends. Obviously, Ms. Davis, with her accident, she hasn't been able to probably follow up with staff as rigorous as they would like. But I've heard nothing but good communication coming out the wires. Palm Beach County, I think had 27 staffers at that meeting. That's crazy to think about what it will be on the Palm Beach County channel. They're going to have it on a YouTube channel. They're going to make that available to us. I think that what we wanted to see occur was, a resolution being passed. Ms. Davis already has the language in front of her. She's working on that. And then, a letter that circulates the lake. I was fortunate enough to get interviewed, or maybe unfortunately interviewed by NBC2 today, myself and the mayor of Clueston, Ms. Molly Gardner, and asking about, I don't know if y'all saw, but Trump tweeted wanting a $200 million. He's going to go and hammer on Congress to give $200 million towards SERP and SEP programs as they unfold this year. It sounds like a lot of money, and $200 million is a lot of money. But when the federal government is $1 billion behind on a 19-year cycle right now, $200 million is, it's not much money. And so we're trying to get them, if they contribute only at $200 million a year, they'll never catch up. In our lifetime, they'll never catch up. And it's going to take contributions like that or greater and in a more repetition manner for us to be able to, for the federal government to catch up with what the state's done. But we're not going to complain. We're going to take that and move forward with it. Cowboys, Ida Baker, Wednesday night or Thursday night? Thursday night. It's going to be on the radio. How about that? You got your own radio station. That's pretty awesome. Tigers have the blue and gold game on Thursday here in Clueston. And then we have our spring game on the 23rd, hosting Lake Placid at home. Hopefully you two can make it. It's a long drive for you to come over.
May?
23rd of May.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The Pete Walker effect is coming back in. Y'all have a training that you're going to?
Yeah, I'd love
Big
to see
time.
that.
That's okay, though. That's awesome. That's awesome. And then last item that I have, go ahead, Commissioner Swindle.
Cowboys, is the baseball team still in the playoffs?
They play
They go to the East Coast.
tomorrow night.
So they're still going.
At Fort Pierce?
Tomorrow night, sir.
No, they go to one of the teams on the East Coast. I don't know who it is.
They're in the game.
I think it is Fort Pierce. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So so if they win this one, what do they advance to the regional bracket or?
Got to win two.
Nice. Good deal. And you got Big Nesbitt on the mound.
Can't pitch in both games.
Can't pitch in both games. Who's he? Oh, that guy that's going to be a first day selection.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last thing, too, is I've asked a couple times, Chief Deputy, I'm going to ask you again. Is it possible, is it legal for me to see the volume of the residents in Pioneer? I think that there's a tremendous amount of misinformation right now that's circulating. And there seems to be really two camps. One camp is Henry County Sheriff's Department is doing a good job, and they're monitoring it, and they're monitoring it correctly as it relates to ATV, four-wheeler, OHV, all of those things, but off-road vehicles being utilized in our rural communities. The other camp is the Henry County Sheriff's Department is just clamping down. They're squeezing everybody in an unreasonable manner, and they're writing everybody tickets and they're destroying people's lives. I don't necessarily think that camp's right. I don't know. I'd love to let the data drive it and see how many citations have been issued, how many warnings have been issued, and if it's available towards a particular community, I'd love to see that. Chief Deputy, is that legally able to be shown?
I've seen that. I thought they sent that to us.
I haven't seen it.
I did send that to
Yeah,
awesome.
Awesome. Like a couple weeks ago, we got.
What is it looking like? Is it a voluminous amount?
No, it wasn't.
Great. Chief, can you send it to me?
Yeah, I'll send it to you again.
Awesome.
Very few citations are issued. A lot of warnings.
Yes, sir.
A lot of written warnings.
A lot of warnings are good.
Yeah, it's education. We're trying to educate people. They may not know.
Yes, sir.
So we're letting them know you can't ride those on the roads, which is
the law.
Yeah, and it's the shoulders too. That's part of the road.
Yes, sir.
So it's an education thing.
Chief, I don't know if your staff carried back, but you had a deputy that, in my opinion, did a very good job of dealing with a raucous crowd at Montura. I don't say that in a negative manner. I mean, the temperature was hot in the room. And the same issue was being discussed. It was a packed house. What I heard coming out of that community and what I'm hearing coming out of the Pioneer community, ultimately is change is inevitable. Something is going to have to give. But I'm thinking that both communities are leaning towards, if you're a tax-paying citizen and a resident of said community, we need to try to find a manner of demarcation to say, this is where I live, this is home for me. And now, if I live in Pioneer and you four people are my guests, then I'm responsible for you today, or perhaps, and I don't know if this is legal, you four people who come up from Miami-Dade or down from Orlando are not necessarily allowed to have the same privileges that I have through the licensing that or the permit that I'm looking to acquire via Hendry County that allows for me to do that. And I know that there is no mechanism for that to occur today legally. State law prohibits, and the county ordinance that we have prohibits that from occurring. And so I think that we need to let me rephrase it. I know that I'm going to help lead that discussion in a greater manner and let the data drive it on what is actually occurring. I think ultimately it may end up being you won't want to do nothing, especially if there's not a lot of tickets that are being written. But obviously you can't, you have to abide by the laws that are on the books. So that's it in a nutshell, and I look forward to engaging that conversation. Thank you, Chief. Sure. Yes, sir. That is all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Harris.
It's more than 3 minutes.
I know. I didn't know I had 3 minutes.
Come on, Mr. Mosley.
Mr. Mosley's coming back.
Fred Mosley. We had another little discussion about the different specifications. The golf carts, they want them to be in one qualification. They want the four-wheelers to be in another one. One fella said he paid $12,000 for a golf cart, and it's street legal. It's got tail lights, it's got directional lights, and whatever, but it's not licensed. And then our deputy has to follow the rules, of whatever the state mandates.
But the state says that the county, even though the state have an ordinance, the county have to have an ordinance in order.
But today ours for them says that they can't be on the road.
That's what it says.
Yeah, that's what
we enacted a separate ordinance. Yeah.
Well,
And they bring it up about the city of Clewiston is allowing golf carts.
That has nothing to do with Pioneer.
Right. But they say, well, why can't we do it if they're doing it here?
They need to move into the city.
But also, if the speed limit is over 35, they are not allowed to have them. They have to be 25 and under. So it's just it's a lot of little things that they have to look into it, because even the city don't allow you to ride on certain roads because they can't ride on if it's over 25 miles an hour, and that's a state ordinance. That's not a city. So.
And I tell them to call Shane and see what it costs to run the road grader out and the roller to come out of Pioneer after the weekends. And we have a neighbor that lives right beside of us, and he don't leave his property, but he's got 3 of those things, and they come up from Miami, and it's all night. It's all night. But I'm not going to be the judge whether they can or can't.
Well, I'll just say this, Mr. Chair. Maybe it's a dumb thing for me to say publicly, but I really, sorry, open my mouth. Usually going to say some stupid stuff. And what I will say is this. There is a large contingency of people that have been in Pioneer for a number of years. They didn't move to Pioneer because they wanted a small, scaled-down version of the Redneck Yacht Club. They moved to Pioneer because they don't necessarily want to have that city life. But they made a cognizant decision to go out there, and, they understand they're going to get bit by a few more mosquitoes. They understand they're going to have a little bit more of a dirt road. They're going to have a dirty back window. There's things that they're going to have, the amenities that they understand. But I think that we as a commission, we have to be understanding that as we move forward in whatever decision we ultimately make as a group, that we need to take those people into consideration. And just because there's a huge influx of growth that is occurring, that doesn't mean that we need to say, okay, we're now going to change the dynamics of Pioneer. We're going to make it to where you can drive your four-wheelers everywhere. We're going to not necessarily defy, but we're going to tweak our rules, tweak our ordinance to make it to where we're meeting the needs of the new community that's moving in, and sorry, old community that was there. Now, I'm not saying I'm anti having an area or having the ability to ride in certain sections and so on and so forth, but I am saying that I'm always going to be cognizant of those people that have been there forever. They moved there. And then I'll close with this. I don't know how many years ago, but I can remember riding to Everglades National Park with my dad and my brother. So it's probably getting close to 35 years or 30 years ago. And when you would take that right off of 27 on the little jog that takes you to Chrome Avenue, there would be herds of humans riding on either side of that road, Chrome Avenue, as it gets to 27. Or when you were actually out on 27, just by Bergeron's ranch and everything there were herds of humans riding their four-wheelers and their side-by-sides. Side-by-sides weren't as popular back then. There was a lot of two-wheel motorcycles and the old famous big red ATCs, three-legged death machines, right? Now, there are literally hundreds of thousands of people living there, and we're the hour away that they're coming to in the middle of nowhere. And I've got to say, this offends some, but it's a raping and pillaging of Hendry County. And that is a cost that we have to bear to make sure that our constituents that have been here forever and a day with us are still having the comfort of life that they want. And I just think that we need to be, taking that side into consideration on all these decisions as we move forward. Ms. Bird, you brought a great idea in front of this commission. You said, listen, we have a ton of people that are riding, paraphrase here, we have a ton of people that are riding golf carts. City of Clewiston's riding golf carts. My constituents in the Harlem community specifically want to be able to ride their golf cart legally. I don't even know if you stay on certain roads. We just want to do a pilot program. We want to be able to ride our golf carts. I've heard nothing but good things about that.
Nothing negative.
I've heard nothing negative.
Right.
I've heard nothing negative. I will tell you, because of that conversation that we had, that has spurred some interest in Pioneer. That has spurred some interest in other areas of our county. And I think we need to look at that and what can we do to recreate that success story. And then what have y'all had that's been a pitfall? Have you had any kids that have gotten run over? Have you had any, vehicles that have been destroyed or anything like that? I don't know. We need to look at all those things. How many citations have been issued, so on and so forth. But I go back to, the first meeting that I attended on the 23rd of March, I believe it was, in Pioneer about this very subject. It was a packed house. There was a gentleman, he was very excited to want to share his opinion. And he said, I came to Pioneer because it's in the middle of nowhere. And I absolutely 100% disagree with him. Pioneer is not the middle of nowhere. There really is no more, unless you get out in the middle of Dinner Island or in the middle of OKC, the middle of nowhere doesn't exist anymore in Hendry County. And that's the unfortunate reality is we have so many people that have come up from big city, and just because they have skyscrapers or more people in one square block than our entire county, and that is a fact, that does exist, the population density is that strong, that they think they're in the middle of nowhere. And so it's I can do whatever I want. I can shoot my gun. I can play my music as loud, 3 o'clock. I can get hammered on my big wheel buggy that looks like something out of the Bigfoot competitions, And I'm not saying we got to rein all that in, but there's a pro and a con to every conversation. There's a happy medium, and we're not hitting that right now. Ms. Bosley, the Pioneer community disagrees. I know you're not the spokesperson for all of them, but I'm still wanting to engage this conversation, and I'm wanting to make sure that people understand that's kind of where I'm at. And I haven't made a decision one way or another. I hope I don't sound like too much of a politician right now, but I am wanting to move this conversation forward.
Well, there's no problem most generally during the week, families, and all. But what was brought up, it's a weekenders that run it for everyone.
Yes, sir.
And that's the way it stood.
And you and I both know that come May 30th, somewhere around the evening of that 30th on that Thursday, there will be a mass of humanity with their toy haulers rolling into Pioneer, and they'll be rolling right by Joey's Pizza on Flag Hole Road. They'll be driving Mach 1, and they'll be having a blast in Montura and having a blast in Pioneer. Montura clamped down. Montura said, we're done. We've got to pull the reins in. You can ride in the reservoir, but nowhere else. And so,
Does Pioneer have a spot like that? Is there a spot in Pioneer that they say you can ride here as a group? You can come here to the old dump or whatever? Or
the dump is now a lease. U.S. Sugar still has a tremendous amount of trespassing that occurs on there.
Okay.
Giving the dump back may be an item to consider, but I'll tell you this much. I want to make sure that we have a foolproof plan as we move forward to doing that. And then Wolfhead, the property in the middle, which is a privately owned wetland that I believe now is in the WRP program for the United States Department of Ag, I think that's a big play place as well. And that's kind of split perfectly between Ladika and Pioneer.
Short answer is there's not, right? There's not a legal place like Montura has a reservoir. Pioneer does not have that. There's not a place you can go take your RTV, ATV, whatever, and ride.
And technically, there never legally has been.
But they're all over.
The other one that none of us are touching and talking about really, and I agree with everything you're saying, and I feel those communities are reaching out to me as well. But the one, and I don't know how much the sheriff's department is even watching these, is that area, the old blocks.
The blocks
There's
between
the same-
Wellington and Lexington.
But those RVs are just every weekend, and,
Yeah.
and they'll just start ramping up, and they'll just pile in there on the weekends. And it's just because I don't know that the sheriff's department even patrols that, because there's 2 homes there.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just even as much or more mayhem there because of that.
Yeah.
So
Well, going into the Wolf Head, that there's no restriction that nobody would ever run them out or anything. But I think since it just went into wetland, there's no trespassing signs.
Yeah.
But they're
Still going.
going
Wow.
there.
Yeah.
A few. It's cut down.
The conversation that was had at Montour, Commissioner Swindle, was that they're allowed to ride in the Pioneer Reservoir. The Montour Reservoir. The problem is they're breaking the law to get to the reservoir.
right, they're not trailering there.
Yes, sir. And so they're gonna tweak that a little bit. And then the other aspect is that when they're in the reservoir, they're not supposed to ride through the wetlands, and they're completely disregarding that fact as well.
Property is that?
It
The
belongs
Central
to-
County Water Drainage District. So the property owners of Montour own the Montour Reservoir.
Because I know on private property, if I read it right, you can ride it.
Ride all day long.
On your private property.
I'd love to hear what the auspices which are looking at on that area.
What caused the problem?
Yeah, to answer your question about the blocks or Banyan Village out there, we do patrol it. And if we catch people out there camping or whatever, if they're not on their property, they send them off. We've put signs up, the county has. I think one of them may still be up on the one road, but they keep tearing the other one down.
Really?
Yeah. And it is a headache for us. We have to watch Facebook all the time on all these
What's
websites.
going on? Yeah.
Yeah, and they announce it.
Yeah.
You know, big party this weekend
Right.
or whatever. And yeah, we sit out there and turn them away.
Well, so
When
is
they
that
show up.
like to Commissioner Turner's point? Obviously, there's a big holiday weekend coming up. They all really ramp up in those 3 specific areas to make sure that.
Yep, we do every year.
Okay.
Every
Been doing
holiday.
that for years.
Good.
out
Out there, I know. Yeah.
It gets pretty bad. Some of them, one year, Swamp Cabbage weekend, we had them flying or bringing their ATVs from Puerto Rico.
Really?
As far as Puerto Rico, yeah, all throughout the states, southeast. Yeah, they were coming in there for they had to pay $10,000 to get into the race, and it was
Good grief.
big. We had a big problem
Big time.
that year. So yeah, we're on top of it now. We
Good.
try to stay on top of it. Yeah.
Good.
We have a few local people that go out there, and we just keep educating them.
And that's a shame because I grew up for years with people saying, "Let's just go to the blocks and just ride around," and they were respectful and didn't, but now again, it's getting destroyed. Our opportunity to do that's
Right, it's been
But how
destroyed
many
out there and
Tens of
crashed.
thousands of acres did we have? Remember when the Henry County hunting area was? That was a resource that I don't want to say we took for granted, but we would never in a million years thought that was not going to be here for available.
right.
And honestly, Commissioner Swindle, in the stories that I've heard from the brass at Alico, it was stupidity that ultimately took that away, and they couldn't run the risk of having the liability.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it's like you say, a couple people run it for everybody.
That's right. That's
They
what's
used
happening.
to ride off Cowboy Way. I remember.
They still
coming
do.
in. They still do? Yeah. I used to come in and see them riding.
They can't catch them.
Yeah.
Shane, I got. What about are we doing anything on the cemetery? Because it's filling up pretty quick. I've been down there quite.
Yes, sir.
Been there a lot
All
lately.
the funerals.
Yes.
I've got a revised plate. I talked to the consultant I'm using about the phase 1 last week. They're getting me a revised plan back with a quote sheet so we can put it out to bid.
And how many acres is it?
It's just 1/4 of the
It's
property.
one corner, but we were going over the plan of the stormwater management system
Call
in
it phase 1.
phase 1. Entire stormwater management system in one corridor, one corner at the cemetery where it bends, and then I wanted to have an bid option for the road right adjacent to it as a bid option to see what it would be.
Yeah, it should be pretty.
And that was
easy.
a meeting I had last Thursday. So
And do y'all is there a Memorial Day ceremony there?
Yes.
Okay. Last year we got caught in a bad way. None of the cemetery. I've already spoke to Mr. Chapman. And he's already got a plan, but I didn't think about you guys. So
He's the city manager of Naples now. I don't know if it's
no, different one.
Okay.
Different one. I think. Right, I didn't mess up, did I?
I don't even know what you're
Road
talking
and Bridge
about.
in Clewiston?
Oh,
Dave Chapman runs
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Road and
Mr.
Bridge
Chapman.
chap.
Okay.
Yeah. So I spoke to him about the Clewiston one because they called me and said, look, we're doing the ceremony again last year. Remember, there was kids out there pushing lawnmowers that morning of.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
remember
you know, but they're on it. He's got his crews ready, but I wasn't thinking about LaBelle. We need to make sure that.
Alan would be the one that was mowing it, but
Yeah, they
I
do
mean,
it.
we'll help out if we have to.
No,
but-
last year, yeah, they got caught last year. Shouldn't have been caught, but they did. The gentleman that was supposed to mow it did not mow it. Alan did not know about it.
I think the weather.
Weather
kinda
caught him, he took
Right.
off, and so that,
Yeah.
that was an unusual event.
It
Usually he
was.
stays
It
on
was.
top of the cemeteries.
Yeah, and
Hey.
I hate to mention the name FEMA.
Oh Lord.
Okay, but on our creek deal, is it still alive through you?
Yes, there's a little bit of life still pending. We had a meeting with FEMA reps. It was the best one we've ever had. I've got to get with Johnson to do a field visit and schedule a scope of work detail. We're only looking at DeRoy Brown from Nobles to 78, and then the Austin Relief, a small segment, and that's it.
But you went out there and spent all that money on those two, and that's the two they picked, and they turned down all the rest of them.
Yep.
They're smart.
They are, but this is for
So, But
riprap.
we're protesting the four they turned down.
Are we protesting?
Huh?
Are we protesting?
Well, they said you're supposed to be doing the work.
I didn't know I was protesting.
Well, we sent a letter to them.
Oh, okay.
But when you involved in that?
No, sir.
Is this for the debris removal snags from?
It was for the creeks.
Right.
Creeks Way.
They told us it was gonna give us 3 million or 6. Then they come down and told us they wasn't gonna give us none of it.
They told us they were going to give us 3 million or 6.
Right.
Okay.
And then they come down and said, we're not giving you none. We're gonna let, Roy Brown, Austin Relief, he spent all last year working on both of those, so that's the one that's gonna support.
Those are the creeks, sir.
They did the man-made canals. They wouldn't do natural
They wouldn't
tributaries or
do
creeks.
So nobody owns the creeks.
Well,
They're all full of trees.
they're privately owned, private property they're owned.
But no, the people next to them, they don't own them.
Oh, most of them, they actually own the property. The only way we got in there before is we'd get a right of entry.
Right of entry, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they none of them claim they own the creeks.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't either with all that debris.
Great big giant oak trees in them. I went and looked at one of
Yeah,
them.
they're full.
It'd take a great big, either a tree crew or a giant backhoe or something
Yeah.
always coming out.
But the oak trees in the creek
Yes.
is done. It's dead.
You ain't getting it out.
There
Well,
was-
yeah, it's not gonna like it's not. No, the one I seen was still alive, but you ain't gonna take it out alive.
Yeah.
If that's what you mean.
And it's impeding flow.
Yeah.
And boats and everything else.
Wait.
Oh, you could. They actually drove down those. So these weren't like the little tributaries.
Some of both.
Man.
Right.
They're all full though. Okay.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Ms. Bird?
Emily, was you able to get any prices for the signs for all 3 of the centers? Jennifer had you looking up prices for the signs for, not that.
That was not me.
Yeah, you.
Another
Anyway,
Emily?
would you just do a follow with her for the
Yes,
signs
ma'am.
from Pioneer?
What signs?
Some signs to put on there because of the hurricane to inform people.
Okay.
For Harlem, Montour, and Pioneer.
For what now?
We talked about
in case
it.
there was a hurricane. In case there's a hurricane.
No, it's like a information.
I think you're
sign.
talking like the community information signs,
Right.
like
You know.
that are outside the Montura. I think Montura Clubhouse has one.
And
You don't mean like the electric sign, do you? That type of
I'm not
information?
sure what kind she was going to put there, but it was one for each center.
Oh, showing that as a hurricane
Are y'all
shelter.
working
Center.
Is that what you mean?
No, it's not. No, it's
confusing.
basically it's informational sign that we reached out to put on Pioneer, Harlem, and Montour, because when the hurricane season come, there was no way to inform the people, and that was one of the purpose. But we talked about a year ago.
Will they up year round?
Yes, they'll be up year round.
What information do you get off of them?
Anything, any and everything. It's a community
Bulletin board,
community
basically.
bulletin board.
Right.
Oh.
That has the
like on the road sign.
banner.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Like the
Okay.
chamber sign out
Because
here.
we went out with word of mouth.
Got it.
and-
Okay.
And it was not a good thing.
Okay.
The second, that was it, Emily. Second thing, want to thank the sheriff's department for the brown sugar and all the commissioners. Somebody would loot a facility. Was it Carson Turner?
What happened?
It was.
Oh, it was Carson.
What I do?
Okay, so you lose the facility, and I don't think Daryl showed up, so I'm gonna put him on the front.
He had a good excuse. We'll excuse him.
I had a blast.
Just want to thank everybody. Thank
I
the
shut
sheriff's
Brown Sugar
department.
down, Miss Bird.
You shut it down?
Yes, ma'am.
I ain't gonna tell you. I know.
I didn't leave Harlem until the wee hours of the morning. It was phenomenal.
I know.
It was family reunion-esque.
Listen to me. That's Harlem. I said I know.
I know.
Other than that, everything was good. Thank everybody for their help. Appreciate it.
Miss Bird, what's the after action meetings, if you will, from the Brown Sugar Festival Committee? And then I was getting my hair cut at Pete's, and he's got the greatest name, Mr. I don't know his name. He's the Jamaican man that owns everything to the
Campbell.
I don't
I don't know his nickname.
No.
I know you speaking
Okay.
of.
So, I just had it this morning. I was imitating him, and I do an incredible imitation of him, by the way. He was so mad, though. And there was another lady that set up on his property to sell lemonade, I believe. Then the committee came down and said, hey, you have to pay to be a vendor here. And I wasn't up yet, so luckily I wasn't getting out of line. Lisa's still angry at me because I was in Pete's barbershop for like 4 hours. But anyway, I get brought outside, and then they went up one side of me and down the other because I had on my commissioner shirt. And I had to tell the committee what they were doing incorrectly. And I was like, hey, hold on. First off, I'm a white boy in Harlem, so I ain't going to tell nobody nothing right now. Secondly, I'm a Hendry County commissioner. And so I don't have any influence over the Brown Sugar Festival Committee. This is a separate standalone deal. I believe that the committee comes to the county, works with the sheriff's department, and says, we're shutting down this part of infrastructure. We're going to have vendors set up here, and it basically becomes their facility. But I was just wondering, did you get any complaints like that?
We did get some complaints. We have had a meeting with the sheriff's department afterwards, and before we have a community meeting, it's some things that need to be fixed. You don't want to go to a meeting with it broken, not have a solution.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're working on a solution.
Good deal.
Before we have a community meeting. Some of the roads that should have been open was not open.
Yes, ma'am.
And the other thing is being able to let people back in. So we know it's a problem.
Absolutely. You heard some of the same stories I did as well.
And we understand that,
Yep.
but some of the roads that should have been open wasn't open.
Oh.
And if they had told Mike, Lieutenant Stevens, I believe he would have made sure they was open, but he couldn't be on every point.
Yes, ma'am.
But nobody called and said it. So if I had a problem, I called him and he fixed it.
Yes, ma'am.
But if you don't call, sometimes you don't know it's broke.
Yes, ma'am.
And he didn't know some of the things, but we did have a meeting with him, and before we have a community meeting, we're going to make sure we have a solution for it. We are going to have a smaller meeting with a smaller group before we take it to the public.
Great.
So that the community will have more of their input. The thing of it is, when they have a meeting, you have to come.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to help.
Yes, ma'am.
You can't assume that 9 people could run it because it's a community activity.
Yep.
It's not an Emma Bird activity. It's not just the brown sugar. It's a community activity, and we need to get back to that. So there are some things that need to be fixed, and they are aware of different vendors coming in that shouldn't come in. So they are aware of that. So they try to, fix it as they go along, because somebody gonna sneak in there.
Yeah.
Somebody.
I don't know how in the world you monitor that, and I was just trying to avoid confrontation, basically, more than anything. And then I'm happy to hear. Now, are you on the festival committee proper?
I'm not on the festival committee, but I do go into the meetings.
Yes, ma'am.
And I do give inputs.
Okay.
Some of them they take it, some of them they don't. So
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
like anything. When if somebody's helping you and you don't take heed to it, then you have to deal with the consequences that come with it.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's always going to be like that. I just think we need to get back to the things that it's supposed to be for a fundraiser for our kids.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just think we just got to get the vision back. It's a lot of feedback. I think they done a great job. I'm going to tell you why. Because it was put out that there will not be one. They didn't mean any harm when it was put out, but when you get information and you give it legs, it walks.
Well, it's just like I probably wouldn't have rode my horse this year, but I had heard that, and I have 4 or 5 people ask me, "Hey, man, are we going to be in the parade on our horses?" And I said, "But they banned horses." I felt so dumb for saying that.
That was my first time hearing that when you said
Yeah,
it to me.
and it wasn't
didn't
true.
hear that
It was
from
just
the committee,
misinformation
yeah.
that just took and ran its way.
So I hope they come out to the meetings because they can use their help.
Yep.
They can use their help.
Yep.
So because if they got input, they're gonna have to be
Engage it,
in
yes, ma'am.
So, but thank you for asking.
But I enjoyed it. I had a really good time, and I saw people
I enjoyed
all over
my
the
family.
globe that I hadn't seen.
I was out there for a little while. I was on the stage with the other commissioners, and I enjoyed it. I kind of wrote about, when they had little problems to help, and I enjoyed it. So we just take it for what it is.
Me, Adriana, April, and Dazina pretty much fixed every problem on the planet. Yeah.
With Dazina, I bet you.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. It was a good time.
But that was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I take that back. I need to see you before you go. Thank you. I'm finished now. You can always come back with something else, but if I think about it while Mike's running his mouth,
She'll smack me.
Okay.
Mine'll be short. I would like to point out that the antique truck made it through the whole parade this time. That
It was
positive.
tired.
We did make it. A little sketchy at times, but we did make it. And then I would like to piggyback off of what Commissioner Harris and I don't know if anyone on staff knows FEMA. I know I just like to keep updated. I know they had given us a little bit, but I knew the last time we talked that we were really close to having our numbers together. Is everything done, submitted? Do we know? Does anyone know? Okay. All right. That's unfair, Miss Davis sitting here, and I know she was the one pretty much. That's fine. That's not an issue. I just wondered about that. So, but we'll follow up with her and find out.
See, one other thing, I think yesterday's news press, a whole page article, Corps will not lower the lake. So
Yes, sir.
did you know there was an article in there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And Governor DeSantis has echoed the same thing.
Staying at 11.3. No lower. What's the number? Are
Well, they
giving a
won't.
number?
The gist is they're not going to artificially lower it to get to 10.5 anytime soon.
It'll be,
But I don't think that has nearly the energy behind it anymore.
So, okay.
be emergency only, right?
Yes, sir.
So, that last week I was in Washington D.C. is why I was not at the
That's
meeting.
what I wanted to ask you.
Okay, so
How was it?
It was phenomenal. And pertinent to this conversation, we stopped and had lunch one day, and we were in this spot, and there was just tons of people from all over the world there, and the only seats available were by this man, woman, and their child from Wichita, Kansas. And they were same thing. He was doing some lobby work and got to having a conversation with them. And where are you from? Where are you from? How are you? Yada yada yada. One thing led to another, and I asked them about fishing, and they said we love to fish, but we sold our boat this year because we don't know if you've heard about this, but the lake where we are in Wichita, Kansas, is totally consumed by something called blue-green algae. That's exactly what I said. I've heard of it.
That interesting.
But that's a true story.
You made it come from the Clusathatchee?
Apparently the sugar farmers shipped it to them, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, I mean, it's
Make sure you
we know it's not a localized, in isolation, but sometimes for certain political reasons, other folks want to make it look that way.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's much wider, broader, and deeper than what people want to admit.
You still ain't going to tell us about D.C.?
D.C. was great. It was phenomenal. It was a great trip. Well, I went with my son's 6th grade class from the Clewiston Christian School, and I have been on the D.C. tour with my older son and a different school group, but looking at it from a biblical standpoint and God's vision for how this country was molded and set up is absolutely a phenomenal way to look at it.
Did y'all pray in front of the White House?
We did.
Awesome.
In front of the White House, and as we were leaving, the Boston Red Sox were coming in for their recognition from the president, and so it was really neat. It was very good.
That's cool.
So yes, absolutely wonderful trip. Great weather, great kids, great event. So
I think you really appreciated that.
yeah,
Yes, you did.
yeah. I want to be sure and throw that in. I want to
Saw
throw that
that.
in there. Yeah,
That
that's
it?
all. Thank you.
Ms. Bird?
I'm finished.
Well, I'm just checking. Shane, the 14 Road project, I sent you an email that I received. I'm getting calls after calls after calls. The vendor we have out there is being rude to homeowners. We're having a lot of issues there. So what's the situation there?
I don't know about the vendor being rude. I don't know. Haven't
Been
personally
rude to
been.
several people that's pulled up to talk to him. Went off that they would have been completed, but the county keeps making change orders, and it's the county's fault, and we don't have time for this and have time for that. And last time I checked, he signed up for that deal and getting paid for it. So I really don't want to hear excuses. I want to see an
Gotcha.
end result.
If I knew who the individual was he spoke to, if it was
I can
a
get you that.
foreman, I'd appreciate it, and we can handle that in a pre-construction meeting. But yes, the county did issue some change orders, but that was stuff that came along. It did not delay the project any. It's just issues that happen. They have plenty of construction time frame. One of them was a hidden box culvert that the county, I guess when they widen the road or they put a pipe in and 24-inch pipe going out one side, but when they started replacing that pipe, the terry-corrugated metal pipe, they found a box culvert. Been there, I don't know, from the 30s or whatever. So we had to demo it out. And we worked hand in hand with the contractor by having Road and Bridge haul it away, and they took care of the demo.
Yeah.
We also ran across several irrigation crossing pipes. We found out the other day we hit another one. The contractor did. They didn't know it. We had a sinkhole develop in the road. And we had to go patch it. Contractor's coming tomorrow to remove that one. It was only 4 inches below the asphalt. They're scattered through everywhere. I mean, it was an old orange grove.
Hidden
so,
stuff all in there. Yeah.
Hidden stuff. It's an old road, so we're working on it. There was complaints. I did get a complaint from one gentleman that ripped the project up one side, but said that if he was out of line, don't respond back. So I didn't respond back. But what happened was they're mixing the road, and they've got to get certain LBR tests on that rock. And they're waiting for the test to come back, and they mixed a section. And if it's good, then they're going to keep moving on. And they've got to blade it. They blade that section. I was told there was speeding. That's why there's like potholes, and that's not true. It ain't the speeding. It's rough finish, and they've got to reshape it, regrade it, prime it, pave it. There's going to be 2 lifts of asphalt, but they're not bringing the paving truck out to go pave when there's such a short stretch. They got to get a certain amount done. We're just in that unfortunate phase called reconstruction.
Yeah, we're about to come into the rainy season, so a lot of that.
And that's on the contractor to grade the road back. We're down to 1 irrigation crossing that we have to do. You know, the one that they're going to fix tomorrow, that's going to be a change order, but it happens. You can't stop the project. So.
No, exactly. I really don't want to hear the vendor complaining about the county to someone that you're getting paid to do a job.
But I'd like to know if that was the site foreman, because I don't think it's the high-up owner, but we can handle that. And we did talk to the contractor about there were some windrows left on the paved driveway. They need to be a little bit more tidy on their project site. Had chunks of asphalt in the driveway. No one complained to me about it, but we've seen it, and we told them they're going to have to dress that up. Can't be leaving. I mean, they can have the windrows on the side, but you can't have it in their driveways. Some people don't mind it. Other people get real cantankerous about it.
What is a windrow?
Like when you're blading the road,
Oh,
get a
okay.
little.
Okay.
It was only about 3 inches
Yes, sir, I
high,
know what
but
you
there
mean.
are some people.
Okay.
They don't want to go.
They don't want to drive over because it tracks up the driveway, and so they need to.
I
bring
didn't know
it
what
out.
you were saying. So
That's where all those rich folks.
I was saying a windrow in hayfield or a windrow for protecting produce. I hadn't heard of it for grading a road.
But they'll be there tomorrow working. So.
Okay, well, I'll get those names for you. So
Yes, I would appreciate it very much.
Get that done away with.
And I spoke to some of the residents. Dave Castner hit me up. There was he was asking about the stakes, and prior to that, Tommy received some questions. There was a rumor going around the road was being widened, and we weren't. The stakes were 2-foot offset so they can have their control line.
So I've been sending them all to Tommy also.
Nice.
So he lives right there, and he's the manager on this project. Just knock on his door any hour.
And he's putting the.
You're welcome.
Are you still going to put that bike path down there?
Bus stop's going to be right in front of his
Bus
house.
stop, and how about a bike
Give it a
path?
nice circle.
Yep.
Awesome.
Tommy's giving us all that land.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
That was it. I appreciate that. Thank you. If you would, usually every year I try to make it out to the dinner in Pioneer. I'm gonna be in Tallahassee or Gainesville next week. So if you would let the guys know that I appreciate all they do. I usually go out there every year and make sure I try to talk to all of them, and which I see them throughout the year as well. But that's their day, and I really try to make a point to be there. So just let them know that we're out of town, or I'd be there that day as well. And other than that, I don't have anything else. Anybody
Shane, how many
else?
people will be at that barbecue? How many people are in the road and bridge department? That's what it's for. Is it for all of Public Works?
All Public Works.
All of Public Works for inviting all of admin, so they're coming.
All the Public Works.
Facilities maintenance, Margaret better show up.
So roughly, how many humans?
If everybody shows up, maybe 70, I'm guessing.
70.
Probably. There's 30-something in Road and Bridge, 9 in Port LaBelle.
I'm counting my assemblies now. I mean.
Yep. So we're right at 75. That's
Better fix all the holes the day before.
Adrian has?
Yeah. No. Anybody have anything else?
No, sir.
Thank y'all very much. Meeting adjourned.